Hello, this is Anirudh, the GM DM of Not a Scratch. Um, this is very off the cuff. I'm just doing this with no notes or anything. I normally have some sort of script in front of me, but this is a Q&A episode. You can tell by the fact that it's titled that way and it's very, very long. And I completely understand if you guys aren't able to listen to the entire thing. This is just answering questions that our community had about Arc 1 as a whole, questions about us, I guess. I insist though, if you guys are interested, go ahead and listen to the entire thing. But I completely understand. I just want to make sure I have this little quick disclaimer in before the episode begins. Just saying, there is no midsection in this. It's just straight 2 hours of stuff. It's also a live thing. We did this in our Discord, which you should join. There is a link in the description and on our Twitter page. So we did this completely live. We had a list of questions submitted to us on Discord and on Twitter, and we just went through and answered them. Some people added some questions in between. You can tell because the way the style and all that is very different from what we normally do. It's not as edited. It's kind of just all three of us talking over each other like normal instead of a more structured episode. I'm going through my list right here, just make sure. So you can follow us on Twitter at NotAScratchCast or email us as well at notascratchcast@gmail.com if you have any cool ideas you want to add to the podcast or just want to reach out to us. We mentioned the Discord, that's in the description below. Most of the background music is tabletop audio, and I'll list all of the different specific tracks in the description of this episode as well because there are a lot of them. There are a few Glitch City songs, namely Kirby's Dream Land, and then whichever ones are mentioned during during their moments. So I'll talk about like Snow Song and then talk about those. Those are Glitch City. Going through here, there is still time to enter in the giveaway that ends at the end of the month, September 30th. So if you guys are interested in going into that, there's a tweet on our Twitter that talks about it. If you like that tweet, retweet, comment. Those are 3 entries. Follow our Twitter and follow me at Adurin Region. That is AHDURIN region. That's another entry. Going into Discord and reviewing the podcast also add additional entries, so I would recommend doing those as well. We're giving away a couple of plushies of Machop, Trico, and then first place is actually getting both of them. So this is just a way of saying thank you. This is me personally now just saying thank you so much for all the support you've given us for the past couple of months. It's been an exciting project, and as you'll see, we get very mushy in this episode. But yeah, thank you very much. If you are unable to get to the entire part of the episode, but you are able to see this first couple of minutes, I will say there is a sort of special episode thing planned that I want to do without these two guys, without Muhammad and Mansour. That's an interesting idea. Stuff is in the works in the background. We talk about this later on in the Q&A, but just in case you aren't able to listen to the entire thing, I'm mentioning this now. So that's something that's in the works. You can look forward to that sometime around Halloweenish. I'm getting all of the scripts and ideas and stuff like that built up in my head right now, and then I'll probably start recording that with people that I have in mind at beginning of Octoberish, and then we'll see what happens from there. That's pretty much it, and thank you very much once again. I really appreciate all of you. We all appreciate all of you, and let's get into the episode.
The following podcast is a member of the Pokecasters Network. Pokecasters Network, supporting Pokemon content creators, their shows, and the community of Pokemon fans. To find out more, check out PokecastersNetwork.com or find us on Twitter and Facebook.
This is usually the stage when we record an episode where we don't really record yet, and so we're just kind of riffing off of each other. That's where our intros come from.
This is
Wait,
where the
wait,
intros
whoa,
come
whoa,
from.
whoa! A concept of us hanging out as friends before we start doing something—that's weird. Oh my god,
Crazy.
ew,
And I'm
gross.
usually eating something, and right now it's Kit Kats. So sorry.
I've actually been craving Kit Kats for a hot minute. Can we take like a 15-minute pause? Can you come over here and deliver some Kit Kats, please? That would be great.
No, these are my Kit Kats.
Mansour, you're ruining the chat.
By eating Kit Kats?
Yeah, because now everyone wants Kit Kats.
I'm sorry. Go Puff. Order some. I don't know.
Go Puff? You Go Puff Kit Kats.
No. I went to Target. I went to Target last week, and I was getting a bunch of stuff, and I got Kit Kats on the way.
Okay, because like if you Go Puff Kit Kats, I was gonna have some questions, namely entropy question mark.
I've done it before. I didn't do it this week, but I've Go Puff Kit Kats before in the past.
But like just
Here's-
Kit Kats.
Guys, we can't talk about food. I mean, people. So Ginny, GoPuff is kind of like a. How would you describe it? It's like a food delivery service here in the U.S.
It's like Grubhub, but for snacks.
Yeah. By
Yeah,
the way,
like,
they're-
a convenience store in general.
Delivery convenience store named Go Puff for reasons that I'm probably not allowed to say on this recording.
yeah. By the way, this is live, so all those errors that we make. If any of you guys curse,
Uh-oh.
yeah.
I mean, I think it's okay. It won't be in the final recording, but I will be very transparent.
Yeah, y'all are getting the unfiltered.
Because I
version
really
if you're
want to talk
listening
about
in
the
now.
first time I cursed on the podcast, which is very funny.
Oh God. Oh, you remember that? I don't.
I
remember
remember that very
probably
well.
cut it out.
I remember
All
the
right,
episode.
I don't even think this episode's having an intro. So whenever we want to talk,
Are
can
we
just
not
swap.
doing the hello everyone? It has.
I mean,
we have
will.
to.
We're not doing like an intro, like a little tidbit about how we talk about how I don't know, pen ink is disgraceful compared to pencil ink, and that somehow
Oh,
ends
yeah,
up
we
being
don't
a
need,
little
like, a
segment
riff
beforehand or
or
something.
yeah.
Pencil ink.
Pencil ink. That's right.
Bro.
See,
Okay, all right.
Me-
Just wanted to make sure I heard you. No. Of course, makes sense. I just wanted to make sure I heard you right.
So if you guys are ready, we can start the actual like hello. My name is.
Yeah,
stuff.
I'm ready for that.
Okay.
We already have our. Even if we did need an intro, we have it with the Kit Kat talk, so it's fine.
Oh gosh. Cool. So with that being said, we'll get started with the. See, I feel weird because there are people watching this. Guys.
Just say dive on in already. Just say it.
Well, that's not what I say now.
But this isn't the dive on in bit. Come on
Just
now.
say the line.
This is what we do all the time. All right. We get started in 3, 2, 1. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Not a Scratch, the only podcast out here that believes that Scratch is an overpowered move. I am your host, your GM, your PM, your DM, Anirudh himself, and with me here reading the Pokemon Sinnoh Handbook.
It's me, Mansour. I also, fun fact, while I'm recording, I often have Bubblepedia on a separate page because I don't know what anything is. And with me is someone who reads the word live as live every time.
It's me, Muhammad. English is dumb. Why are words not pronounced the way they're spelled? It's stupid. Anyways, carrying on.
Yeah, so how you guys doing?
We are doing great. We're live, which is a new, interesting experience.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
this is fun. This is exciting. This has brought me out. I was on the cusp of a food coma before we got started, and the jolt of energy has brought me out of it.
Honestly, I'm just so hyped.
Yeah. Sorry if I'm pausing. I'm probably talking to the chat. By the way, for all of you people listening to this after the fact and weren't in the live chat, don't worry. We'll do this again if this doesn't scar me.
It almost definitely will, but we will make him do it again.
Yeah.
Just so everyone knows.
Maybe we'll have to wait till the end of Arc 2 for another Q&A episode. We'll see. We'll see what
Possibly.
We'll
I think-
figure it out.
Well, yeah, something will happen. I'm getting threats from the chat, so that's nice. Anyway, so this is the Q&A episode where we got some Qs and we're about to A them. That sounds right. Yeah, let's go with that. So I have a list of questions here on an Excel document, the ideal place to look for questions, and we'll just be going through them. There are a lot of duplicates. I'll try to make sure I mention your name if multiple people ask the same question. I apologize if I didn't get your question on this Excel document. I was going through and trying to look for everyone's, both on Twitter and Discord. By the way, you should follow us on Twitter and Discord. And I think unless you guys have anything major to say, we can just start off with the first questions.
I think if people got questions like in the chat as we talk, also feel free to just put them in there and then we'll just respond. I think that's fine too.
Yeah. So if you are in the chat right now, and you have a question that just comes out of nowhere, for example, If you comment about the way that I say Regigigas and you're sure it's Regigigas or something like that, then go ahead and toss that into the chat, and that will be a question. That's works. I don't know. Are you guys ready?
I'm ready. I've
yeah.
been ready.
People in the chat, we usually pause this long before we say anything, so
Yeah, awkward Zoom silence extends to our recording sessions. It's great.
it's almost like we don't actually know each other. We just kind of.
Except we do, which is a problem.
What are you
Eh.
talking
We're
about?
three
We're three
actual friends. This isn't like a professor and two students are like, can anyone tell me what X is? And then just dead silence.
To be fair, that is literally this is like this isn't a spoiler per se, but we've been recording Arc 2 and there've been a lot of that exact moment.
Yeah.
That reminds me as well. I should tell you two in particular, the people that I'm talking to right now. So not y'all in the chat, not y'all listening afterwards. Mansour Muhammad, if you end up spoiling part of Arc 2 during this thing, you're about to ruin it for all of these wonderful people in our chat.
Yes.
My lips are
I'm
sealed,
aware.
bro. I'm not gonna say anything. We also haven't recorded that much of Arc 2 yet, so there's not that much I could spoil, even if I wanted to.
We are more episodes in than I thought we would be at this point. So
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
Kane, you get a bonus point.
I won't spoil.
Okay. So I'm just gonna go by Discord name. I'm gonna go in order from when I wrote them down. So the earlier you ask the question, the more likely it is you will be first. If that makes sense. I apologize for I apologize, Fran, for spoiling the fact that there is an Arc 2.
We mentioned this in the season finale.
Yes, the fact that there was more storylines. So, okay, so let us get started with a nice icebreaker one from Mr. Fudd on Discord. He asks, is one of Ralph's mom's sayings, "an apple a day keeps the clink clank away"?
I have to look up what a clink clank is. Give me a second. I don't even think I
we are one question in.
I'm sorry. It's
Guys,
not
this is what I deal
not
with.
a doctor Pokemon. Why is this the? Is it?
It is
It's
not.
It's not a doctor Pokemon. It is a bunch of cures. Yes.
I don't understand it then.
Well, listen. Okay, so you have to answer the question at this point. This is a you question.
I would assume no, just because if there was a doctor Pokemon, like a Pokemon that looks like a doctor, then like yeah, Chansey. Oh yeah, probably Chansey. How do you spell Chansey? Yes, there you go. Yeah. You know what? She doesn't say a doctor, an apple a day keeps the clink clank away. She says an apple a day keeps the Chansey away. That's a much better quote.
The real question is, what does Ralph's mom have against Chanseys in general? Like, why? What did Chansey ever do?
I think it's very stereotypical for us to assume that Chanseys are the only Pokemon that can be doctors. Any Pokemon can be a doctor. But
No, listen. First of all, we had you with your comments about how like half the police force are Growlithe, and that was
That's
a big
true.
ordeal. So
Yep. Oh well. But yeah, that question. Consider the question answered.
great. One down. I think we have like 25 questions or something like that.
Amazing.
So, next question comes from Fran, who has already commented about stuff in the chat. Fran asks, I don't know why I paused like that. Is the story canon to any of the Mystery Dungeon games, either location or story-wise?
That's a question.
Maybe see a
for Anirudh.
cameo of one character of those games at some point. Yeah, hi, Fran. Is the story canon to any of the Mystery Dungeon games? It's a good question. No. Technically, no. Technically, this is a different world that just happens to also have Mystery Dungeon things. Will we see cameos? Cameos aren't exactly the right word. References, maybe? I think I've been dabbling with references recently, so for example, the fact that Kangaskhan is the shopkeeper it goes along the line that Kangaskhan is the storage person, which I realized very early on that I made incorrectly. But there are other sort of things, like Kecleon being the big rich people shop thing that goes with one of the Kecleons always selling TMs and orbs and stuff like that. So, is the story canon to the Mystery Dungeon games? No. You might see references to some of them. You might see different aspects of if you go back through the original arc, you'll see small references to them. I think I'm doing a lot more, especially in Arc 2, there are a few more references that have already been done, which I don't know if these guys have picked up on yet. Eventually, there will be even more, so, that hopefully that answers your question.
I've never played any of the Mystery Dungeon games, so if any of those happen, they just fly right over my head.
You've never played any of the Pokemon games.
Yeah, I think I mentioned this in Arc Zero, Episode 0. The only Pokemon game that I have played is Pokemon Go, and that's it. So yeah, so I don't know anything about it. So, would be willing to try.
Yeah, Mohammed, have you played any of the Mystery Dungeon games?
I have started Red Rescue Team so many times and have never finished it.
Yeah, it's a very specific.
And they tagged me, so I have to respond. They asked, all right, serious question, Mansour, playing Ralph. Why a Pokemon podcast then? So, like, I like Pokemon. Like, I think that's a fair statement to say. The problem is, not the problem. The thing is, like, I just don't know that much about it. But also, I love TTRPGs, and I like doing acting, voice work, clearly. So that's why I just decided to be on board with this. But yeah, I enjoy it very much. And I think it's also very funny and fun for me to not know what's going on half the time and to have to keep looking up what Pokemon are and look like so I can get a good image. But yeah,
that's me. To be fair, that's me with any Pokemon after Gen 5. So
yeah, out of us three, I'm the one that knows the most, only because I keep myself trying to know the most. I actually care, unlike these guys. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, no, I'm just here for the free food.
I'll send you your Kit Kat shipment very soon.
I expect a delivery today. I hope you realize this.
All right, maybe. All right, what's the next question, Anirudh?
So the next question also comes from Fran. Again, I'm just going in order, so Fran just sent a bunch our way. We've seen multiple items, but I don't remember listening to orbs or looplets. Do they exist? We eventually got there, because this was sent before we used the first orbs and started talking about that. So orbs do exist. Looplets do not, partly because looplets are sort of like the IQ skills, or I tried to incorporate that into it, which these guys have blatantly disregarded. I think they completely forgot IQ skills existed until about like
IQ skill. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
To be fair, we haven't accrued many points with which to get many useful IQ skills.
Well, okay. So here's the thing. I have noticed if you scroll up a while in school, I think it's school cafeteria. If you scroll up a while, there are a lot of comments and questions about why you sold the gummy.
Yes, we will address that in time. That's a question that's a question that I know is coming up. We'll address that.
Yeah. So so stick around in the episode. We'll get to that. Next question also comes from Fran. How do you define regional variants in this world, like the Alolan Sandslash, or Alolan Sandslash versus regular Sandslash and things like that? That's a good question, and I don't think we've officially. Have you guys? You guys, as of right now, have not met any regional variants or things like that. I do know
that.
We have. No, you haven't.
Yeah, we have.
Team Payday, dude.
Oh, they have.
Payday is just all the variants of Meow.
Yeah.
Like, come on, dude.
Look, things have been stressful recently. I think okay, so that must be why I was thinking about this, because I was writing down answers to these next to them. The regional variants, I think I just say they're Alolan and things like that. There's no real difference, but yeah. So regional variants they do exist. They're just as we've mentioned before, because Team Payday does exist, and which I didn't write down, which is disappointing because I've gotten to know them really well since this question was asked. But I do know that they just are what they are, and I don't distinguish them by saying like this is the dark Meowth versus the normal Meowth or things like that. They're just Alolan. It makes it simpler for us. It makes it simpler for these guys that they haven't experienced regional variants nearly as much as I have. So it's along those lines.
Did you get what I want to say? But I don't know if it's a spoiler.
Saying that, basically reiterating the fact that regional variants exist and that we meet more regional variants isn't a spoiler.
Okay,
sure.
So I'll say it.
So,
we meet. Yeah, we do meet. I think only one so far, but we've met another regional variant in Arc 2. So.
Yeah. Sorry, my head's been in between.
But
yeah. Ooh. Okay, great. So this is a question that a lot of people asked. Where is my mouse cursor? These are issues I deal with.
Everyone asks where your mouse cursor is.
Yeah, everyone, all y'all sitting here asking where my mouse cursor is. At the end of the day, I don't know. Okay.
Can you all see my screen?
Oh no, we have too many people typing. All right. The actual question that most people ask. So I have here, Scott, Pokemon Payday, the squad as a whole, and Sam Hauser is, I think, the name. Hopefully, I'm just pronouncing that right. But those guys, along with like 14 other people, I've always asked, and this is a really important question to ask you guys, because this is a you question. Was Ralph and Kyle always Machop or Trico, or did you have different ideas before settling with those?
Oh, I gotta think all the way back to like March when we were first coming up with like who we were gonna be.
All right. Well, I can go first. This is literally the first character that I came up with in terms of like, I think there might be a question later on about did we consider like other Pokemon as well and things like that. So basically, Anirudh told us, okay, so you're gonna basically have like a level 5 Pokemon. It needs to be like a basic form of the Pokemon, like no like stage 1 or stage 2 evolutions, things like that. And originally I was gonna like really like dive in and see like, oh, maybe I'll pick something really interesting. And I was like, well, I want to know what kind of like vibe of Pokemon I want to go for. And I find like a mystery dungeon quiz online, and I go through and I just like hit all the character traits that like I want to play the character as. And literally, like it's one of those ones where it gives you like a percentage for each answer, and it literally gave 100% Trico. And Trico is like hands down my favorite starter Pokemon, and I was like, well, that settles it. That's it. All right, I'm done. Like my work here is done. And I think as far as like Kyle's actual character, I think that was very much just. I don't think any of that was really like predetermined. That was just kind of me playing on the spot as we were recording the first episode. Um, of just being like, okay, we'll just go with these kind of character traits and go from there.
Yeah, for me, I think I was the opposite. I think I started very much with like the character I wanted to play, and then I picked the Pokemon based off of that. So I knew that I wanted to play like Ralph. I wanted to play the character of Ralph, where it's like he's very like optimistic and like jumps headfirst into things without really thinking about it. Um, like wholesome good boy, but like not the brightest in the room. Like wants to like dreams of being a hero. Like that was very much what I wanted to play. But in terms of Pokemon, I was like, oh, I don't know. And I think Machop just kind of like landed in my head because again, the only Pokemon game I've ever played is Pokemon Go, and like when you tap on like each Pokemon, they do like their little animation. So for Machop's animation is kind of like he gets like a really determined but like happy face, and he goes like, That's not the sound he makes. It goes like it's a weird different sound. But just like that image in my head was like, oh, this is the perfect Pokemon to play this character. And it just kind of clicked. And then I just was, I don't think I considered any other Pokemon. I think I was like, I want to be a Machop. Like going into it, I don't think I had another specific one in mind. So yeah, that's how Ralph was born.
Yeah, kind of going off of that. I forgot about this, but I think when I was kind of deciding on like what kind of character wise what Kyle is going to look like, because you had such a strong idea about Ralph, I was like, all right, I'm just gonna play off this and have a very different character and set up some very interesting character dynamics between these two. And Anirudh did the hard work of tying it all in together. There's a question about the URL for the quiz. If I can find it, I'll send it in the Discord. But this was like half a year ago at this point. It's one of the first ones that comes up when you when you search Mystery Dungeon Quiz. I'll look for it. I'll find it.
Yeah, I just popped in the chat that moment in the animation in Pokemon Go, like that image of like so determined face that Ralph has on. I'm like, this is what I want. But yeah, Anirudh, what's the next question?
Oh no, I didn't know if Muhammad finished his comment, but
yes, I did. To clarify.
Okay,
He's
cool.
done.
All right, cool. Next question comes from Scott. Scott runs why? This is me. I'm forgetting. I've known Scott for like a month. Reckless Rollers. See, these guys know it, and I'm listening to them. Scott runs Reckless Rollers, and he asks, what gave y'all? He said y'all, I think, in the actual question. So, what gave y'all the idea to make a mystery dungeon campaign?
That is Anirudh. He had the idea, not me.
Yeah. So I am a huge mystery dungeon fan. I think I've probably mentioned this before, but Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, specifically Blue Rescue Team, was what got me into the Pokemon franchise as a whole, and so I've always found it to be I've always found that to be such a cool game. The concept of being a Pokemon, going on your own adventure, plus the way that they write that game, since you don't have nearly as many customization options with the teams and how you play through the game. It's very much just you are this Pokemon, so you have to go through it somewhat more linearly than other games. So for other games, for example, you can make a team with all legendaries, or you can make a team trying to beat the entire game with, I don't know, with a Togepi. And there's all sorts of cool things you can do with the main series games that you can't necessarily do with the Mystery Dungeon games. So it very much built on the story aspect of it, which is the type of game I like to enjoy. And also, I feel like Mystery Dungeon, the fact that Dungeon is in the name of Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, felt like it was a perfect fit for the Dungeons and Dragons type concept of a TTRPG. And so I wanted to do that. And after some research, I found that there were a few systems that dabbled in it, but when you play a Pokemon story, you obviously want to be the trainer directing Pokemon, and there's so many ways you could take that story. But Mystery Dungeon hadn't really had as much. I say this now, I don't know if this is true, but I don't. There is a chance that we are the only Pokemon Mystery Dungeon TTRPG campaign out there that does a podcast and all that sort of stuff. Because I haven't found anybody yet. But if you know anyone, please tell me. So with that like gap in the Pokemon podcasting world out there, I was interested in doing that. I basically just asked anybody that I knew, like that had any interest in Pokemon or prior interest in Pokemon. So I was just basically pounding the table like, hey, can you guys join me on this? It's going to sound rough. It sounds like a large challenge, but eventually we could get somewhere with this. And I bribed these two guys. That's how they're here.
Yeah,
A
go
very
ahead, Mom.
I was gonna say a very interesting detail that you're leaving out of the story here is that like this was a relatively drawn out process in terms of there was a lot of thought that really went into it. Like I think the first time Anirudh mentioned the idea of doing a Mystery Dungeon TTRPG, we're recording this in September of 2020. The first time he mentioned this was a year and a half or 2 years ago.
To you, to me,
to
it
me.
was like in February, I think.
No, yeah, like this is something that I like Honor had been talking about doing for a long time. And then about a year or so ago was like when he really got cranking on like developing the system and everything. But like this has been a long time in the making. He spent a lot of like thought and time into fleshing this thing out.
I think because it all starts with when I really got into podcasts, which would be
This was
would be
about a
last
year
summer.
ago.
It'd be last summer-ish is when I started finding guys like the Roaring Trainers. I don't know if DM's Treehouse had started then, but guys like Roaring Trainers, Quest Company Junior. There's a few others that aren't Pokemon related, but D&D related that we're really interested in as well, like Coventry. But that really got me interested into diving into like, hey, maybe I can make a story about these Pokemon that go on an adventure, and I need people for that because I'm a lonely boy. So
Yeah, I remember like I think it was February, March-ish of this year. It might have been no,
No, it was definitely earlier.
it was before that. It was I think it was during like maybe October, November or something. Because remember, I think
it was late last year.
Yeah, because Anirudh told me, and I was like, oh, but like this semester I'm really busy, so maybe next semester. Yeah, so it was late 2019 when Anirudh first told me about it. And he was just like, I want to do like a podcast, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon. And I was like, I don't know anything about Pokemon, but if you want me on board, I'm down.
Yeah, at this point, like he had already kind of developed like the first iteration of the system that we're playing with, and he had sent it to me, and I was basically looking for any chinks in the armor and things that weren't explained well and things like that. Like at this point, he had already put in a lot of the groundwork and was just basically, all right, I need people who can do things. Mansour does improv; he can do this.
Yeah, and in a weird way, I think like COVID kind of accelerated the process because like
Oh, 100%.
we were talking about like,
absolutely, yeah.
like when are we gonna all be free to meet and stuff, and like when we'll get together and record. And then when COVID happened, it was just like, all right, guess we're gonna record remotely. Like, problem solved.
It was like, we're all free now. We're not on campus. We're all sitting at home doing nothing outside of class. There we go. It lines up perfectly.
Yeah. All right, next question.
Next
Unless I don't have
question.
anything else to say on this.
Not really. I think this itself could be a whole hour-long talk about my life story and stuff like that.
Yeah, save it for your TED talk, buddy.
Well,
No,
actually,
save it for his book.
yeah, save it for my book that comes from a TTRPG podcast. Uh, but in all seriousness, there is an episode of Pokemon Payday that we've collabed with a little bit before. I recorded something with them that came out a couple days ago. I think it was it yesterday or day before yesterday. I forget when it was. But it just came out, and I'm a guest on their thing, and I briefly talk about this as well in case you guys are interested in that. So, plug them. Also plug basically anybody that has a podcast that I'm talking about. So with that said, next question comes from Kane796 is what his name is here. I think, yeah, your name still has those numbers in there. How did you all meet and decide to do a mystery dungeon podcast instead of another genre? So I'm gonna spin this off to a little bit more along the lines of why did we choose this genre? Why is it an adventure?
Bold of
and
you to
not-
assume that we met recently. But
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, this is more along instead of the choosing the mystery dungeon. How did we all meet? So
I think Muhammad and Anirudh knew each other before I knew them. So I guess I'll just go first. I met Muhammad. Okay, I will. The first time all three of us were in the same room was so there's an improv troupe on our campus, and they do workshops on, at the time, Thursdays and Sundays. Now it's Wednesdays and Sundays. And I was a wee first year, and I had done improv in high school, and I was like, oh, I want to like continue learning it and learning how to do long form improv. And then I showed up there, and Anirudh and Muhammad were both in that workshop. So that was I guess technically when all three of us like knew of all three of us' existence, like mutual existence. I don't know. I can't really put my finger on like when exactly we became like friends per se. I think
It just happened through improv. So
Yeah, like,
essentially,
through improv.
the short answer to the question is we all met through improv. Honor and I, we are a year above Mansour in school.
Maybe.
We met our first year 3 years ago, doing improv workshops essentially. We were in the same dorm on campus, and we didn't like make that connection until like a few weeks in. But yeah, so like Honor and I had like already known each other. We were friends with like a bunch of the people who also did improv. And then Mansour comes onto campus a year later. He joins in. He's also friends with like there's a whole like small group of friends there that like we would do like the occasional board game night and things like that, and like hanging out after workshops and stuff. That's kind of how we all met, and so I think, and I mean, Honor, you can probably speak to this more, but I'm sure a lot of improv people were definitely like on your list of, oh yeah, let me reach out to these people and see if they want to do it.
Yeah, the first time I met you, Muhammad, because the first time I met Muhammad was in that improv workshop, but the first time I met you was, I think it was during orientation week my freshman year, and then we went to go to Eid prayer, and that was the first time I ever like talked to you. And then there was, I think Bank of America was trying to like promote themselves, and they had like a pedicab ride, and we both rode in that together. We talked a little bit. That was like the first conversation we had.
Because in like the 10 minutes between like when we like walked into the mosque for Eid prayer and walked out, it just started to rain, even though there wasn't rain on the forecast, and that was your welcome to Pittsburgh.
Yep, very much so. But yeah, now you know how we all met. We met through improv. That's the short answer.
Yep. Cool. Yeah, that was. It's cool to look back and be like, hey, 3 years ago, I didn't know Mansour. I sort of knew Muhammad, and the Eagles were on a Super Bowl run, and now here I am, a Super Bowl champion, and also that other friend stuff. But like, look at that.
Do we really need to bring up that Super Bowl now, buddy? Come on.
Look, man, I don't have a lot to talk about.
Muhammad's a Patriots fan, so if you hear, just don't get him started. Oh, well.
Basically, yeah. All right. So
Listen,
the next question, unless you want to spaz about football for a while.
I mean, all I was gonna say is I'll take a back seat this year. Both of our teams are going to be garbage.
I disagree. I think both of our teams are going to be wild card and then lose in the first round. But
that's my definition of garbage. The bar is high.
It happens every time they get into the sports talk, and I don't watch football, so I don't know what they're talking about. That's fine.
So the next question comes from Mr. Fudd again, also on Discord. What is a PM in the PM DM GM thing?
Prime Minister. That's what I thought.
Podcast. Mercury. Mercury is in like the Greek god.
So the official wrong answer. There is an official wrong answer. There are wrong answers, official wrong answers, and then official right answers. So the official wrong answer is Prime Minister, Danger Man, God Mode.
Oh, for PMD. Yeah.
Yeah, that is the full thing. However, the actual answer is Pokemon Master, Dungeon
Oh,
Master, Game Master.
right. Yeah, now that the question was brought up, I actually didn't. I never put any serious thought into what PM was. I was like, DM is Dungeon Master and GM is Game Master. I've heard that before, but PM, I was like, Prime Minister? Question mark?
Yeah. So
I feel
wrong
like I picked
answer.
up on that pretty quickly, but
I did not.
I think it's also just the fact that Muhammad, you played more Pokemon, so
this is fair.
yeah. So you've heard Pokemon Master before.
I mean, it was just more word association on my part.
All right, next question.
So the next question. Oh, here we go, guys. A question that I hinted at before we even started this. Why should snow not exist?
Oh, you want to tell this one? This is a fun one.
I actually don't know if I know the answer to this, but carry on.
I think I briefly mentioned it, and then I briefly mentioned it after a recording, but I don't think I went into detail about it.
I remember you basically gave the full story.
Oh wait, I think I
Yeah.
remember now. I remember that conversation. But tell everyone.
So, the initial plan. So I don't plan out nearly as much of the story as it may seem. I don't even think it seems like that, but I don't plan out the story nearly as far. With the exception, of course, of the very beginning. So I had planned Arc 0 and the first few episodes of Arc 1 before we even started recording, because I wanted to jump out on the right foot before I dove into what little improv skill I have. So I didn't know which guild these guys were going to choose, if they had chosen a guild outside of the Recruits of the Lost. So for each guild, I had set up team members, which is still the case right now. If they go to a different guild, they'll get different team members and different people that are already set up. And they have like names and basic backstories and things like that. But Snow was just the rookie, and that was about to be it. This story was really going to focus around these two and their adventures. Then I remember you guys got off the train, and then you were talking about, let's see if we can find somebody in the city that was going to the
Bronze Roses.
the Bronze Roses. And so when you guys said that, I'm like, well, sure, why not? There's another rookie, and this would make sense if they were both going to travel at about the same time. So I brought Snow in, and then the infamous "Oh" comment came, and then here we are.
Here we are. Yeah, I mean, I think I very much understood that from like the beginning, like in that episode of like, she's not meant to be an important character, like at all. And then Muhammad just says, "Oh," and then that set off the whole romantic side plot. So
When you're
so
working with improvisers, it's very easy. You just give them a little bit of material, a little nudge in the right direction, and let it run its course.
basically. So
I really
that's
hope
why
we get to see her again soon because she's such a fun
Yeah.
character.
Oh, she's definitely a fun character to voice and play around with. But so if the story would go to plan, Snow would have been just a character that they went with, they traveled with, and then probably the one that would introduce them more to the guild aspect of the Bronze Roses. Instead, Snow became probably the third or fourth most important character in the entire arc, which is not what I expected.
Yep. Yeah.
Considering some of the stuff that happened plot wise in that arc regarding the fate of the world, definitely not expected.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah,
and one of the things I really like about Snow is that she's not just like the love interest. Like she plays a pretty big part in like the battles and stuff that happen, especially towards the end of the arc. Like she's important.
Oh, yeah.
She was our
Yeah.
way of getting to Newbird City. Like
Snow doing snow things. Next question comes from Tanner on Twitter. He has a whole bunch of podcasts. He's got Not If I Reboot It First and Pokemon Millennium, both of which have been promoted on the channel before. He also has another podcast called Loser Like Me, which is basically a Glee recap, which is interesting if you're a Glee fan. I have not seen Glee enough to consider myself a fan, but I bet that's as good as the other two, which I have seen a bit of. But he asks, and this is a question for you guys, partly because I gotta fix some stuff here, and partly because I want to see what your impressions are. What kind of teen drama shows exist in this setting? So I'm talking like if you switch on the TV and we're watching a teen drama show, what would that be?
in the
Like in the
region.
Outcast region?
In the Outcast region, like you switch on the TV, get away from your sports channel.
Define teen drama show.
Um,
Like something you'd see on like Nickelodeon or something like that.
Oh, oh, okay.
Is kind of the vibe that I'm getting. Also, could be like a
I was
what's that
thinking like
show
Glee,
with the
for example.
werewolves? The, is it werewolves or whatever that show is called? I don't remember what the name of that show is. There's a show that I'm thinking of. Is it Teen Wolf? I think it's called Teen Wolf.
Is that the one with
Yeah,
Arden Cho?
Teen Wolf. Yeah,
Yeah, it's Teen
that
Wolf. Yeah.
yeah. Hmm. I feel like there would be some really interesting like shows about like Pokemon like around the point where they're about to evolve, um, almost like and because I feel like that's just like a really interesting concept of like oh like these Pokemon are going through changes in their in their young lives. Let's follow them and see what happens, kind of thing. Um, I feel like it's not quite a teen drama. It's more of like reality, but I feel like that would definitely exist in some form. Um,
Almost sounds like a National Geographic thing. All right, so we start out in the wild where we see, you know.
I was thinking more TLC.
Oh, also that.
um, if you're looking for punny names, I don't know enough teen drama shows to where I can do that. I'm sorry. Um,
I'm just thinking of just like a classic, like, Pokemon High School, like that sort of vibe of like High School Musical, but with Pokemon.
and you got like your different cliques, but like on top of that, like I feel like there would be some level of like type association with the
Oh yeah,
cliques.
for sure.
You
Like
know,
the golf kids are all the dark types, and the
like the
jocks are
dark
the
and
fighting
ghost types and like,
Like,
the fighting types and like what type would be the nerds?
probably Steel.
Electric is what I thought. Oh,
Electric
steel
and
would also work, yeah.
Steel nerd? Yeah, I
I'm
see it.
thinking
I
of
see
like
it. I
I'm
see
thinking of
it.
like Magnezone, or
I
Magnemite.
I see it as like a robotics nerd kind of thing. But like, what
Yeah,
about like a book nerd? You know what I mean? Like old school nerd.
Water type.
maybe Psychic type. Yeah,
Or
Psychic type is pretty good.
psychic type, actually. Yeah, that's probably
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
That
It's
was that
actually
was my initial inclination, but also I feel like psychic types would be yeah, I see it, I see it because like they have that. I feel like they'd have that certain element of like weird to them, like stereotypically weird.
yeah.
And then you just have your normal types, just your normal types.
Yeah.
There are those.
Sure, probably stereotypically the fairy types would be the cheerleaders. You're right. I'm just reading the chat, so yeah, probably. I don't know what to
Yeah,
call this show, but that's what I'm thinking of.
My Hero Pocademia. There you go.
Oh,
My Hero Pokedexia.
combining
Pocadexia.
anime and teen drama and Pokemon. Very
Hold
nice.
up. Combining anime and Pokemon is just Pokemon.
Oh,
I
that's
should
true.
point
Yeah,
that
you're
out.
right. Whoops.
Come on, dude. Come on, dude.
All right, next question, please.
Next question, also from Tanner. Wow, way to go. Are fossil Pokemon around? That's fossil. Are fossil Pokemon around? Yes. I haven't used a lot of them. The only one is Sheriff Omastar, who appeared in Arc Zero and then disappeared for the face.
Right.
Yeah.
But fossil Pokemon do exist. They aren't. They don't need to be revived or anything like a trainer-based podcast. They exist. They're just either really old or really slow develop. I'm not exactly sure how I would go with them. Long story short, fossil Pokemon exist. They haven't been in the main storyline yet. I don't know if they're going to be in the storyline as fossil Pokemon. They might just be in as other characters. But yeah.
I feel, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like the general trend in terms of like, does like X or Y mechanic, like in terms of like mechanic or like characteristic like Pokemon or whatever exist? I feel like the answer to that is generally like, if it works in this, like the mechanic explicitly doesn't exist. If this Pokemon fits well into the story, sure they'll show up. I feel like that's the general vibe.
Sort of, yeah.
Correct me if
I
I'm
think
wrong.
I think it's just based on the fact that this podcast, if you've noticed, is much more story based than battle based, which I think is the real dynamic between it. You don't
Yeah.
see nearly as many battles. You don't see nearly as many Pokemon mechanics like evolution and level up. You don't see that nearly as much as you see the story behind it, which makes this even more of a mystery dungeon game as opposed to a main series game. Because main series is all about the battling and the leveling up and improving as a trainer, while Mystery Dungeon is all about the story and trying to find out the mystery behind whatever goes on.
Right. Yeah.
random aside, and like this is just a random throwaway comment, but like I was just reminded of this. I'm kind of like I was always a little salty that in the main game, like in the main story games, um, Pokemon contests and like being a Pokemon coordinator was never like a route you could go down like fully and like explore it, because like Pokemon contests are absolutely sick. Like at least like in the anime, and like they should be reflected in the game. That's all. That's my 2 cents. Carry on.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Also, I just realized the perfect opportunity to talk about the first time I accidentally cursed on the podcast was during the snow question. I don't know if there are any more. If there are, then I want to mention
yes,
that.
there
later.
are. In fact, the very next question is a snow question, so that
Oh,
works.
perfect.
So Pokemon Crossroads, who is a great news source to see a bunch of Pokemon information. I see them a lot on Twitter. They also have a website. You should go check them out. They're really cool. It's a nice way to see your next favorite Pokemon related thing, I think is the best way to sum it up. So check them out. They have a bunch of questions. First question is one that we've briefly touched on, but we didn't go into detail about. Is Snow adopted? Yes. Is there a storyline behind that? I don't quite know yet, but at the very least, she is adopted. With this, you can go into your Snow comment if you'd like.
Yeah, she's got like a complicated relationship with her parents because like they're both like always away, and I mean I think it was kind of obvious the first episode she was introduced, and also later on when we actually go to her house / mansion. But yeah, the first time that Ralph cursed on the podcast, which we obviously edited out, was it was the scene in the Bronze Roses where we're having breakfast and Kyle and Ralph are like sitting there at first.
Yes.
Yeah. And then Anirudh says like, and Snow comes downstairs and sits next to Kyle, and then I just instinctively went, curse incoming. I went, and like, and then at that point we were like, we have to cut that out. We have to cut that out. Oh, but it was really funny at the time. I got so embarrassed too because like I somehow managed to keep my mouth free from being potty mouth like for that many episodes, and then the first time was just like I didn't even think about it.
Oh, we
In
spent
case you
like
can't tell, Mansour gets really invested in his characters.
I
So
do.
Oh, yeah.
when Ralph gets snowed like that, it hits deep for him.
It do hit really deep. Like
uh
when Ralph is
Yeah.
all flustered, like when he's like telling Snow about like how he feels about her and stuff, like that is I am legitimately flustered. Like I had butterflies in my stomach about these two imaginary characters kind of falling in love. Like I get very invested in Ralph's character.
Sorry, I'm getting notifications to vote in the elections. By the way, if your elections are coming up, you should vote. If they're not coming up, you should vote when they happen.
Yeah. Be a part of democracy. Go vote.
Whoa. I think that sums up that question. Next question, also from Pokemon Crossroads. Between you two and your characters, specifically your characters, who would be the one paying for Netflix, and who is the parasite?
Oh, this is obvious. This is such an obvious answer. Mama, do you want to do the honors?
You say it's so obvious. I want to hear what you have to say just to make sure we're on the same page here. Because if we're not, that's going to be really awkward.
Kyle is definitely paying for the Netflix, and Ralph
Okay,
is
good. We're on the same.
definitely
Good. We're on the same page here.
It is so obvious.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, Kyle's the responsible one. Ralph is like, I want to watch Avatar, and like that's it. He doesn't care about anything else. Payment, what's that? Like,
No, it's so obvious. Even the chat understands it. Yeah, I think that's what I was thinking as well. But
yeah.
cool. So Pokemon Crossroad asked an interesting question that I may actually do something like this in the future. They asked, if Kyle and Ralph made a podcast, what would it be about?
Oh man, that's a good question.
I'm trying to think, what would Kyle and Ralph actually have like a sustained conversation about? Like, I feel like if the two of them were to have a podcast, there would be like a specific like topic, like general like topic that they could like, both like very actively engage in. I feel like it would be more of like they just bring guests on and like almost like a Joe Rogan experience kind of thing, where they just bring guests on and talk to the guests.
I don't. That.
I don't know if the two of them like have enough common ground in terms of like interests to like actually have like a very focused podcast.
I feel like they after this series is over, which I hope it never does, but I hope like they save the world, they go on all their adventures and stuff. I feel like they could have a podcast like after that when they're older, and they could like talk about like sort of the what you don't know about the two heroes that saved the region, and just sort of like
I mean,
talk
that would definitely be like Ralph's spin on it. Kyle's spin on it would be like, yeah, let's just talk about some stuff we did back in the day.
Yeah, but they'd be like talking about sort of like the little bits and pieces of like their adventures. I think.
Yeah, I also think like this is something that we didn't really explore too much in Arc One, but in Arc Two we're definitely exploring more, and we'll definitely explore more as the series go on. As far as like the relationship between Kyle and Ralph, and like how that grows and develops. I feel like the answer to my answer to this question will almost certainly be outdated in a few months' time.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe one day Ralph is the one paying for Netflix. Crazy, but maybe.
Nope, never happening. Never happen. Absolutely not. Could never happen.
All right.
So Jenny posted in the chat, Ralph and Kyle live react to Not a Scratch. So you guys have a YouTube channel and just start listening to the podcast.
Oh my
Honestly,
god,
a Ralph and Kyle like react channel? Not bad. I could see that.
that would work. That would 100% work. I mean, Ralph would do all the reacting. Kyle would just be there like, dude, come on.
Yeah, Ralph is the one that does like the live like ooh like kind of reactions, like stuff like that, and then Kyle's the one that like after the video's over, like talks about like its implications in the larger world. You know what? Like in my opinion, the boring part of like a Fine Bros video.
Wow, I take slight offense to that, but
I'm
okay.
sorry. It's like whenever I watch like kids react or adults react, like I only watch the part where they're actually reacting to it, and then when they start talking about like do you know who this person is? Do you know who that person is? What does this mean for the larger? I'm like, I don't care. I just want to see what the reactions are to certain parts. That's it.
So a lot of what I listen to are like reactions to rap songs when they come out. So
Ooh, yeah.
Ralph would be the one
Anthony
vibing to the
Fantano.
beat. Well, Ralph would be the one vibing to the beat, and Kyle would be the one that's like, here, see, this is a double entendre, because actually he's talking about this and that. Okay.
Yeah. All right, next question.
Next question also goes to you guys, also comes from Pokemon Crossroads. What would Kyle and Ralph want to do when they grow up?
Oh man. For Ralph, it is one of two. It is either be a professional baseball player, or like save the world, which he's kind of already doing now. I mean, hopefully he's gonna do it. He just wants to be like a hero. He just wants to like be a good person and like just be an inspiration to others. That's kind of what he wants to do. At least as of right now, but yeah.
I could see Kyle as a teacher, like as a school teacher. I could see it. Or perhaps, like I could see Kyle as like either like a school teacher, or maybe like eventually like working like his way kind of like up the ranks in guild lead. I have no idea what like the Recruits of the Lost looks like and how it ties into the greater guild scene, but I could also see Kyle like going the complete opposite out of like getting really involved, like the leadership of that. Those two things I could see Kyle doing. He's also only 10 years old, so at this point he just wants to like draw or whatever. Like
yeah,
that,
I was
like,
10. I wanted to be a player, which is horrible. So people change.
Oh, I relate to that too much. Yeah, next question. All right, Muhammad, get ready. Why no gummy? From Jenny.
because I'm dumb.
Well, there's
Like
your
that-
answer, Jenny.
like that's it. that is really all there is to it. I recognize like as soon as I was about to sell the gummy, I was like, hold on, it would make more sense to just eat it. But at that point, I had already committed, and I wasn't gonna walk it back. I was just gonna commit to the choice. That's it. We make mistakes. We move on. Kyle still had.
Meme in the chat of there seems to be no sign of intelligent life anywhere.
Oof.
I love that meme so much.
There really isn't. If you sit in a recording session, well, I say that Anirudh and Mansour are brilliant people, so I actually can't make that meme.
Lies and slander. How dare you talk about Mansour
wait,
that way?
whoa. Slander. That implies that like me calling you intelligent is either insulting or hurts your image.
Okay, so here's what I'm saying. See, in the me, I'm fine with that, but calling Mansour intelligent hurts my image. That's what I'm.
Wait,
There we
what?
go. Okay, good. Glad we're on the same page here.
Compliment and be happy with it. What are you talking about?
No, I'm kidding. Yeah. So basically, yeah, Kane. This is how we're friends. We most of the time we are fine with each other, and then on rare instances we try to roast the living devil out of each other.
I wouldn't call it rare.
It's how often you see a shiny on a daily basis, but you're shiny hunting all the time. It's that rare, yeah. Okay, next question.
Yep.
All right, cool. Ginny, I'm saving one question for the end. So in case you're wondering like why I didn't go in the same order. What is your favorite character from Arc 1? And we'll throw this to all three of us. You cannot choose yourself, which I mean,
Yeah, obviously. I actually mentioned this in the Discord last night. So my favorite character in Arc 1, not Ralph's favorite. Ralph's favorite is Snow, that's a given. But my Mansour's favorite character, at least to interact with, is I think probably Susie, because she is such a cursed demon child. Like, and also like every instance where she pops up, and I think it's kind of obvious, is like whenever Anirudh just wants to give us something, but like forgot to give it to us in a natural way. So we just get like this like this omniscient weird kid that's just like, hello, I have this for you, I don't know where I got it from, and then just disappears. Like, we made this joke, but like she's literally like plot device ex machina. Like if Andrew just forgets, oh shit, they need like this item or whatever, like Susie just appears. I just find that so funny and so fun to play with. I really hope we get to see more of her in like Arc 2 or any future arcs.
As someone who, in full disclosure, I don't listen to the podcast, so I genuinely know nothing about Susie as a character. Susie is just an enigma to me. So
yeah, I
like
think,
I'm genuinely lost at this point.
like Muhammad knows who Susie is, but nothing about like background and things like that.
Did
Yeah,
you listen
no.
to my solo episode? 'Cause that's when she first shows up.
Well, yeah, no, I didn't. Like I don't keep up with the podcast. I know I'm a fake fan, but okay.
I mean, it does help with getting a more realistic output on things like that. So there'll be instances, especially in the beginning of Arc 2, where since we record over wide spans, they'll forget information and then try to relearn it over time, which makes sense in a story aspect that you don't remember everything you learned yesterday. Um, and I think the same sort of thing goes, especially earlier on when we didn't have nearly as big of a backlog. Like listening to the episodes would make him all of a sudden remember some fact that he forgot in a previous episode. So, in a way, that does help with the story. Not
Yeah,
because
and
everyone out here is
and
shaming you for listening to the podcast.
um yeah, and I mean like the other thing was just like not listening to podcasts. It just helps me keep track of the story too, just in terms of like I only have to focus on where we left off last time. Um, Also, I know like I had listened to Arc Zero because that was like our first run of like editing episodes and things like that, and like Honor does a baller job. He doesn't need my rubber stamp of approval. He's fine. Um,
I mean, it's nice, but
but yeah, favorite character from Arc One, uh, hmm, probably Jeeves.
Oh, we love
ooh,
Jeeves.
yes,
Like
Jeeves is a good character.
Jeeves is just a fantastic character in general. Like we didn't see a lot of him, obviously, but like I don't know. I just enjoy characters who like they just like sit in the background and let the chaos ensue. Um, and that's very much the vibe that I get from Jeeves. Just A1 character. Also like just knows everything that's going on. Um, G's like this is gonna be a reference that a lot of people may not get, but G's reminds me of Toph Beifong, but in Legend of Korra, um, not like in like the Last Airbender, because just like the older person just yeah like knows what's going on, couldn't care less, just gonna keep doing his own thing.
Yeah, I get that. Cool. Oh, I need to ask. I need to answer mine. Well, who is my favorite character? See, the issue is, I know who my favorite character is, but the problem is nobody knows anything about them, which is kind of, uh, it's kind of fun. So my favorite character technically is the actual like villain of the story,
Big
which
bad evil guy.
yeah, the big bad evil guy. But the problem is that nobody knows anything about them beyond their voice sounding vaguely like the Joker's. But the backstory I've developed for them, yeah, because I actually planned this one out. Uh, I love their story so much, and then the fact that they could just pretend to be the Joker is such a fun thing. If you're talking characters that actually exist, like regularly in the story, Susie's definitely up there. Snow is up there. But both of those are sort of main characters and have already been said. I think Mrs. Quagmire is probably my favorite. Though.
Another fantastic character.
Yes. Yes.
I'm also. Oh, go ahead.
No, just the fun character.
Yeah, I'm gonna throw an honorable mention to Adam because Adam is almost like the opposite of Jeeves in that Adam's like this ever-present character, but also just seems to half the time be clueless.
Yeah.
Yeah. Both Ralph
is...
and Mansour find it really frustrating where it's just like, all right, we should just ask Adam what to do. And he's like, oh, I'm not even here. The line's staticky, hang up, like... oh, I can't stand
So I think the
sometimes.
cool thing is, I asked Adam, who's from DM's Treehouse, from Roaring Trainers. He has his own podcast called, I think it's called Tallgrass. I asked him if I was allowed to use his name in the podcast, like have a character based on him, and he was all for it and supported us. He was helping give it advice early on. Might have been even before you two were officially on, just me trying to build the system or somewhere around that time. So
Yeah,
he's been supporting me from the background for a while, and so I'm glad that I could, in however small of a way it is, I could appreciate the fact that he's just a cool guy. Yeah. Cool. Next question. that one took a while actually. Now that I think about it, this episode might be the longest one, and it's a Q&A episode. So
probably.
Yeah, chances are we might have to cut a lot out from the actual recorded episode, which means people getting live are getting some exclusives here.
Maybe.
Yeah. So the next question, going to me, what went well and what didn't? Story-wise, I didn't write down the full question, Ginny, but I think you're talking about like how these characters and these fools out here going right when I tell them to go left and things like that. I think overall the story, I didn't, again, as I mentioned before, I didn't have a lot planned out beyond the first couple episodes. Getting off the train is effectively when I stopped planning stuff. So I had like the train blowing up and that sort of stuff. I had that sort of planned out, but beyond that, it didn't really have a lot. So I think what went really well is just the improv between us three really went well, which, I mean, we've been doing this for 2-3 years now, so I would hope it'd be good by now. What didn't go well? Do you guys have any suggestions? What do you think didn't go well in the podcast? In the first arc, do you think we could improve on in the second arc?
The only thing I can think of in terms of like things going well and not going well, and I mean this is very much just like subjective and very much based on kind of your plans, but I think the pacing that we have is really interesting, because we have like what would, because I'm very much used to like the pacing like in D&D campaigns I've been in, where it's like, yeah, we'll go through like 2 weeks in a 4-hour session, and this is the exact opposite, where the pacing is so slow, and which wouldn't stick out to me as much if the, like, you know, the showdown with the big bad evil guy wasn't already set to be like a year away. Makes it's really interesting. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's something that kind of sticks out to me as like something that's like a little odd.
Yeah,
don't know if you have any plans about that or not, but
yeah, I have some ideas behind how to either speed it up or make it go even slower. There's some like generic things that I could go with, but yeah, I think when I was originally planning it, I had a year set because it was an easy time frame, and I thought, hey, a year would make sense if they find a different item every month or so, and everything, you know, there's some problems, some good things, some, you know, side tangent stories and things like that. Everything will wrap up in a year or so, and then you guys just went and somehow found everything and found the first item in like 2 weeks or so. So, it was definitely, yeah.
I don't know if the people who listen know this, but like we've had a couple of times where like we recorded what we thought was 2 or maybe even 3 episodes, and then in post, Anirudh's like, I'm combining these 2 into one, because in like one episode, all you do is like get off the train, and in the next episode, all you do is go shopping. So it's like,
yeah, no, that's something we tend to do, where we just tend to really like, I guess it's a blessing and a curse of us kind of winging this thing as we go. We get caught up in the minutia and the day-to-day, which is great because, like, you know, like it's really fun to play through that, but at the same time, as far as general plot line, like it doesn't exactly help.
This is very much like an anime, I think is the best way to say it.
We have filler episodes.
There is an
We definitely
overlying
have filler
plot,
episodes.
but there's a heck of a lot of filler episodes.
I mean,
yeah.
this is like slight spoiler for Arc 2 right now, but as far as like the beginning of Arc 2 goes, we definitely have not improved anything pacing wise. If anything,
No.
we've gotten worse.
Oh, yeah, you're right. In the beginning, beginning of Arc 2 especially, we really take our sweet time. Like, yeah, that's whatever.
Fran asks in the chat, and this sort of builds off of that. Have you caught yourself having too much in one episode to divide it into a two-parter? I think that's happened once. I can't remember which episode it was.
There was, because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but the longest episode to date is Kyle's solo.
Isn't that the finale? No, the finale I think is longer.
Or
the finale is longer.
The finale is longer, but also like the finale is like the finale. We've definitely had sessions where we've recorded an episode and looked at the timestamps and been like, "Oh my lord, this has been like an hour and a half." But I mean, Anirudh, like you're the one editing, but the episodes where we have a very long recording session tend to have a lot that can be cut out, and a lot that like doesn't really contribute to the episode itself.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, actually, I'm looking at the Spotify right now. Yes, the finale is the longest, but the second longest is not Kyle's episode. It's actually Arc 1, Episode 14. Save the Flower. It beats Kyle's solo episode by like 20 seconds, less than that. So
well, that's another like that's also just like another end of arc. Like those end of arc episodes were just like, all right, a lot of plot is gonna happen very quickly. Here we go.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Cool. Next question. I think we sort of touched on this a little bit. Sam Hauser and Ginny both ask, "What's your favorite thing about the podcast, and what's your least favorite thing?" We sort of touched on that. If you guys have anything else you want to add to that,
great thing, I get to have fun with these guys. Bad thing, I have to have fun with these guys.
So great thing about the podcast, bad thing about the podcast?
Yeah, that's what the question technically is.
Honestly, greatest thing about being in the podcast is like it's just something that's fun to do outside of like school and work and like things like that. And it has been like a ray of sunshine in my life at times. But also like bad thing, and this is just me personally, but like when we record every week, there have been numerous weeks, probably more than one on one hand, maybe even two, where I basically have to tell them like, guys, I do not have the emotional energy to summon Ralph right now. Like, I'm not doing so great, or I'm really tired, or whatever, which makes me feel really bad because I just feel like I'm letting everyone down. But
you're not though. This is why we record so many episodes at once, to allow for things like that, because everyone needs a break sometimes, and it's fine. True. But also, dude, come on, you really leave me hanging a lot.
Yeah, I remember like I think last week we were supposed to record 2, and then I recorded 1, and I was like, I have a splitting headache. I need to take a nap.
Okay, but this was also after week 1 of class. You're allowed. You're fine.
Yeah.
That's whatever. But yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to save your question for a little later, just because it flows a bit better. But so next question comes from Jenny. How do you edit, record, etc.?
That's all Anirudh.
Yeah, so as the technical expert behind this, I can offer a unique skill set beyond this. Okay, so we record using a program called Zencastr. They, over coronavirus, have been offering their services for recording and downloading and stuff like that for free. So that's really cool because I don't have any experience with how other people record. They usually record with some sort of bot on Discord. I don't know squat about Discord. That's why Muhammad usually deals with that sort of stuff. So Zencastr is a sort of easy way of being able to record. All three of us can just hop on. It's sort of like a business call in a way. I think that's generally what it's used for. So we take that. I download those. The process that I go through it generally is we record the episode whenever the episode comes out, usually a few days beforehand. The episodes will have already been downloaded. I'll throw them into Audacity, and then truncate silence is a function on there. So all three of the tracks will be on top of each other, and any period where all of us are just very quiet like that, it'll cut out.
Nice.
So it'll cut those out and make them a reasonable size. So that decreases episodes from an hour to 50 minutes. And then from there, I toss them into the editing software I use, which is technically a video editing software called HitFilm Express. It's a free software that allows you to record videos, like basic, like YouTube videos and stuff like that. So I toss the audio tracks into there, and I listen to the entire episode one time through. I pick out the funny part from the intro section, then just go through the episode, toss in music as I go along. Usually, however long the episode is, a little bit over double that time is how long editing takes. And then I toss it up onto Anchor, publish it out, etc. So it's a pretty straightforward process once you, especially now that I've done it so many times.
Yeah, I mean, Anirudh makes it sound so like easy, but I remember Muhammad can speak on this too. Like when we first recorded Arc 0, Episode 0, like a couple days later, Anirudh was like, "All right, I have like the file," and like listening to it, I was blown away. I was like, "Oh my god, it is so clean and crisp, and all the awkward pauses and like where we talk over each other, like those are all gone, and the music, I think honestly, like at that point in time was probably when I was like actually like super sold on doing this every week, you know? Like I like the idea of it, but once I heard like the first like, you know, edited episode, and I was just so impressed with Andrew's editing, I was like, I'm so excited to keep making this content. So
I do have to say, I think the first episode might have been edited the best, because initially I didn't know about the truncate silence part on Audacity, so I was going through and cutting out all of the silences and all of the coughs and things like that, anything below a certain frame. So even parts like this.
Arc 0, Episode 0, I think, if I remember correctly, said it took you like, a total editing time was probably somewhere closer to like 5 or 6 hours.
Yeah, that was...
Like, that was before you really iterated and got your, like, you know, production time down a lot. And
yeah, I think...
make it easier for you.
Definitely. So that was definitely a multi-day thing. Nowadays, I can do them... If I get really busy with work or something like that, I could theoretically do it the night before, which I have done sometimes. Sorry. But no, usually I'm doing it, like, today. I usually do it Saturday and Sunday, so that it's up, because we upload all our episodes on... They're published on Tuesday, so that gives me enough time to bounce around. On the rare instance where things get busy, I can just do it, spend a couple hours working on it. It's not nearly as hard. Plus, it's nice to go back and just see where everything is, and then it's cool because I also get to use that time to add in my little tidbits. So the midsection, I always do that right before I finish rendering. So that the midsection is usually recorded when I'm editing, so that'll be a day or two before the episode comes out, even if the recording session was months ago. On top of that, adding the music is always fun, especially exploring them with Glitch City and Tabletop Audio. I think that sometimes in a few episodes, I add a little segment at the end of what the evil team is doing, which is always fun to record. So I like to spice things up occasionally in case, you know, I get bored with the same old recording over and over again, or editing over and over again. Yeah. So with that bummer talk, two more questions from Ginny. That unless she adds another one into the chat. The first question is a more lighthearted question. So Ralph,
Yes.
you're on a cliff.
Okay.
And it's a wide cliff, and there are two Pokemon on each side that are about to fall off.
Oh no! I already know what you're gonna say.
It's Kyle and Snow. Which one are you picking?
Oh no! Oh, that is really rough. I don't want to choose between them.
Blame Ginny.
Dang.
There's a big old cheat. There's a whole bunch of cheat ways you could get out of this. Just saying.
I don't know. Man.
You guys are actually Pokemon. No, you guys are actually humans, and your regular lives. And actually, yeah, Ginny did put them on the cliff. I did, but so actually,
okay.
that part's my fault. But
I think my question is this before or after we're done saving the world? This is a terrible thing to say.
If the world is saved, he's expendable.
If the world is saved, then it's Snow, because I don't need Kyle anymore. It sounds horrible, but yeah.
The funny thing is, that is so much more a Kyle answer than a Ralph answer.
That's such a Kyle answer.
But if the world is not saved yet, Well, even then, it still depends. Even if the world is not saved yet, it's like, how much do I really need Kyle? I think this is more a question of on what case, in what cases will Ralph opt to save Kyle instead of Snow?
The actual question is, Ralph, Kyle versus Snow, who do you choose? I added the cliff just to add suspense, and seemingly that did the job.
Jeez, I think generally it's probably gonna be Snow. I'm really sorry, but um, especially if it's like if like I hope this never happens, but I hope like let's say like Arc 7 or whatever, like
I'm writing this down. I don't know what you're talking about.
oh no, like Arc 7, like if that situation actually happens and like the last item like I need Kyle, like it's probably gonna go for Kyle and it's gonna be devastating. But like I think generally speaking, it's probably gonna be Snow.
Okay, but also I don't think we're ever all right. I don't think we're
At
ever gonna
least
get
not
to a
right now,
situation
like-
where we're gonna have to like kill off a character or whatever. Because
No,
if
no,
so,
no.
Kyle would be long gone.
Yeah.
Kyle
That's-
has hit
this is
0
as of right
HP
now, like-
far too many times.
At this point in time, where like at the end of Arc 1 and also where we are in Arc 2, I mean not much has changed between Ralph and Snow. But like at this point in time, that's where it is. Who knows? Maybe in like in Arc 4 or something they break up and it's like dang it, so we'll see.
Yeah, I do remember you guys tossing around a bunch of questions about who the mole is,
Yeah.
in the Recruits of the Lost, and I remember you tossing out a bunch of names like who you talked about, like Smasher, Mrs.
Yep.
Quagmire, Snow was in there at some point
Yep.
as who the mole is.
Yep. I legitimately
Yeah.
there was a point in time where I legitimately thought the end of Arc 1 was that Snow would reveal herself as the spy, and then it would just be the most like terrible, sad thing ever. That did not happen. So yet, I don't know what's gonna happen, but yeah.
Dude, alternate universe. Snow is the mole, and Ralph crosses over to the dark side, and the series ends in a final showdown between a fully evolved Ralph and a fully evolved Kyle.
The series could totally end like that. As of now, it could still end like that.
That's very true. It could end, maybe. Next question comes from Discord. It's Sam Hauser. He asked a question a while ago, or at least had maybe a duplicate question. He asked, "What's the tough part about the homebrew system?" So, as players, what do you guys think is the tough part about the fact that the system, while a lot of attributes are borrowed from other systems, this is technically a self-made system? So,
I love homebrew over any sort of like pre-written whatever. Like even with like D&D, because that's most where my TTRPG like experience comes from. Like I'm generally not a big fan of like the books, like that sort of thing. That might just be because I haven't played like any of the good ones. I'm gonna go on a little bit of a D&D rant right now. But like when I first got introduced to D&D, a friend of mine who like was the GM, he initially started with Heart of the Dragon Queen, which is I think the first part to like the Rise of Tiamat. And Heart of the Dragon Queen, I have heard, is like the worst book of all of them. And it's like very railroady, and the whole quest is basically just like, all right, go fight some cultists, come back, go fight some more cultists, come back, and like so on and so forth. And it's pretty bad. I've heard things that like, for example, Curse of Strahd, I hear is like the really good one. I haven't played anything like that. But since that experience, I've kind of always been scarred, and so I always favor like homebrew stuff. Like when I DM for D&D, like I do not touch the books. I always go for homebrew, with the exception of like the monster manual that I do refer to. But yes, I do DM. I haven't DM'd in a while, but I have DM'd before. I think I've DM'd more than I've played D&D, honestly. But yeah, so when Anirudh like approached me, like this is a homebrew system, I'm like, cool. This is what I like. I think in like mathematically, I think the hardest part is like the numbers game, especially right now with like Ralph with his power band is just obliterating everyone in one punch. Like if this series was an anime, it would be One Punch Man. And so that's probably the hardest thing is just like working out like the balancing and stuff. Even without power bands and things, like there have been a couple fights where like Kyle will get hit and he's at like 2 health, so kind of balancing that stuff out is probably the hardest thing for me as a player. But yeah.
I don't really have much to add to that. Like as a player, I don't know. I don't have as much experience with TTRPGs as Mansour does. So, I mean, for me, it's like pretty smooth, pretty bang on. I think it also kind of helps that Uh, I like skimmed over the system beforehand and like pointed out a few things to Anirudh as he was developing it. Um, but I mean, for the most part, like it's just been a smooth and fun experience. I have no complaints. I haven't experienced any real hiccups on my end beyond my character being like squishier than a Kirby. But
Yeah, I think the fun thing is, and I may have mentioned this to specific people. I don't know if I've mentioned this overall. This podcast is my first TTRPG experience. Like, I have not played D&D before. I have not
Wait,
DM'd
really?
before. I have not
you didn't know
played
this?
I mean, you're
before
so
this.
good at it. What the hell? What?
I didn't. I
Oh,
remember
good,
because
man.
I remember because Mansour, when there were a few people on campus that were trying to schedule a thing, I just never was able to find the time to join you guys. So that would have been my first experience. But instead, I'm like, all right, you know what? I might as well just uh, do it myself. So this is my first experience. I've done some stuff since then. So I played in like one shots on other discords and things like that. But this is where it started. So
Wow. Wow, I really thought you had some experience. I'm shocked. This is good.
the only experience I would technically have is listening to all of the other podcasts. So, um, that would technically be my experience, just kind of listening to how they did it. And then there are some of them that are much more. So ours, I think, isn't ours. You can see behind the scene effectively. Like, we'll talk about mechanics during the game and things like that. And there are a few other podcasts that do that sort of similar thing, of saying, "Oh, we roll this because of this reasoning," and that sort of helped me learn more about how to play it. And so from there, I just worked with you guys, and here we are.
I will
I
say
think
this.
another thing.
Okay, now knowing this, it makes a lot of sense when like when you say like roll for perception and then we roll low and you're like, okay, wait, never mind. I'll just tell you.
Yeah,
That
because
actually makes a lot more sense now.
yeah, well, that
Yeah,
and just the whole like passive perception thing, it was something that I just didn't know about until we started, and it's while we could add it in, I find it fun to just see you guys roll terribly.
I think it also like helps in terms of, like from a mechanics and system standpoint when you made the system yourself and can change it at any given moment.
Yeah, that's another thing that's
Like if
that's super
something
cool. I
isn't
can
working,
just
we just change it. It's fine.
Yeah.
Keep moving on.
yeah, and then there are times where like we'll change the system, we'll go back and forth, uh, which I guess I forget what exactly it was, but there's definitely a
Those
thing
seeds.
where I have changed. I think seeds. I've changed the rule like 4 different times, um, throughout this entire thing. So, yeah, um, I think that pretty much wraps that one up. Um, so Kira1 asks, "Do evolutions work naturally?" And this has briefly been touched on. I don't think we did it to much extent. So, normal evolutions, as far as everyone knows, works normally. When you level up into and evolve into the next form. Um, Trade evolutions are done similar to the Mystery Dungeon games with a link cable. If you need an item to evolve, you usually need to get the item somewhere. If you need an item and a link cable or something along those lines, you just combine the two and presto, you evolve. So that's very closely related to the Mystery Dungeon games. Uh, yeah. So Ginny asks in the chat, how do ages versus evolution and slash levels work? Those are two different things. You could be level 100 and 2 years old. You could be level 1 and be 100. So, uh, those are very different things. I know that these guys initially, I think when they started off as level 5, they were like in the 5th grade, because that makes sense, right? And, uh,
Yeah, we kind of implied it at the start, but it's not really a correlation.
yeah, there's no real thing. So, I don't think she is. But, like, for example, Susie's probably level 100.
Yeah.
Probably.
I don't have a stat block built out for her, so she could be like not, but
I think you need to change that probably to definitely.
Susie's never been in
If
a
not
fight before,
stronger.
but I feel like if she ever were to, she would just like no question, she would just obliterate anyone in her path. Like this child is so powerful. The impression that I've gotten is that, like, generally speaking, like the older a Pokemon is, the more likely they are that they're evolved. Like Ralph's mom is a Machamp. Kyle's family, like his older sister is a Grovyle. Yes, did I get that right? And then his parents and stuff, like they're Reptiles. But that's not like a hard. That's a rule you can play hard and fast with. Like, I'm sure there are some really really old like Squirtles or something. But
yeah, it makes it easier to say that. Hold up. It makes it easier to say that the evolved Pokemon are older and things like that because it just makes sense from a logic standpoint. But there is no actual correlation between the two.
Yeah.
Cool. Guys, we are winding it down. I have 3 questions left on my sheet.
Wow.
So this question comes from Sven. And the question is, what song has hit you hardest emotionally? And this is from the background musics in the episode. So
I thought in general, like in my life.
I mean, you can answer that way as well. I think to make this easier for Muhammad, since he doesn't listen to the podcast, just what Pokemon music really relates to you, or what hits you hard, if you know what I mean. You could say like a soundtrack or something like that.
See, here's the thing. Like, I don't think like I've ever like heard like Pokemon soundtrack music and been like, oh, this hits different. But I did have the moment the other day where I was in a Zoom call and like at the beginning, like someone was playing music as people were coming in, and he was playing a Gen 4 like lo-fi remix, and I was like, oh man, yes, this is great. I love this. But yeah, I don't listen to podcasts. None of the background music has definitely hit me different. Although I'm sure I'm sure Anirudh's done a good job with, matching tone and things like that because he knows what he's doing.
I don't remember the names of the tracks, but the one that I like the most, and probably has the most emotional impact on me, is like, I think it's like guitar-y, if I remember correctly. Like, it's like,
do you know when it was playing? Like around we were
it's
doing
usually
this?
like when we're back at, or it's never like when we're in a battle. It's always like when we're like just chilling at home and like goofing around. Like,
oh, I think is it the one that like almost always plays on every single episode?
probably.
Because there's a few tracks like that. I know which one you're talking about. It's the I think it's the Route 47 remix. I've effectively deemed that. Yeah. So if you look up Glitch City, and then Route 47 remix, Heart Gold, Soul Silver.
I'm gonna listen to this right now. Let me see. And I have to click past this ad. Give me 4 seconds.
That one shows up a lot in the podcast. So the songs themselves are generally associated with specific things, and you'll see a theme behind them as well. So for example, if they're in a forest, I literally go and look up a forest remix, and if they're if it's nighttime or if it's the early morning, I have a lo-fi remix and things like that. Is that the song?
Yeah, the Route 47 remix is the one. Yeah.
Yeah, that one I've effectively deemed your two's like theme song in the background, because that's the song that always plays when because I use that basically as the filler song when I don't know what to put, but you both are in the scene, so I just toss that in there.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah, so I listen to a lot of Pokemon soundtracks because I like the video. I like video game music a lot, and so there's a few songs that come up. Obviously, one of the best songs is the ending of Explorers of Sky, that and Explorers of Time, Darkness, and Sky. The music for that is just wonderful. It makes you want to cry. Have I cried? I refuse to comment because I'm supposed to be the cool one on the podcast, but it's such a good song, and that definitely hits emotionally. In the podcast, there are a few songs that hit me differently. Both of them are snow songs. The snow song that normally plays with her, which is the Pokemon Heroes one, that one hits well because that really does emphasize the snow aspect of things. And then sometimes when she's really in a mood or being very serious, it's the Black and White Unwavering Emotions remix. That's a very good song as well. All 3 of these songs are very like emotionally made, which is why Glitch X City is probably actually the GOAT of Pokemon remixes. So yeah. There's a few of them. I'll probably just maybe afterwards in the Discord I'll just link a bunch of songs or something like that and be like, this one's good and this one's good. So 2 more questions. Both come from Fran, unless okay, well maybe they shouldn't come from Fran because Fran's out here roasting me in the chat. But I will be nice, Fran. So last 2 questions, unless anyone wants to toss them into GM's office before we end it up. So Fran has 2 questions, both of them about this. The first one is, are you shocked about the reception that you got from the podcast, or is there something that shocked you about that reception?
Yes. Yes. I'm not, what doesn't shock me isn't that what shocked me isn't like I wasn't expecting like anything in terms of like negative reception or anything like that. Like the positive reception, like it's been fantastic, and like I love y'all for it. But I mean, I also I listened to the episodes before, like the Arc Zero episodes before they went out, and I was like, yo, this slaps. Straight up, like Honor did a banger job with it. But I think what kind of surprised me is just the growth that we've seen so quickly. Like it's just been I, I thought like it would take us much longer to get to the point we're at than it did. And it's just been really amazing to see. Like I didn't think I was gonna make a Discord until 2021, yet here we are.
Yeah, I think for me it's been like just I genuinely I remember there was like we released like only like a few episodes and then Anirudh was like we've got fan art. I was like, "Huh?" And I don't I'm just so surprised with like how we've managed to just have a community so early on. Like I really did not think that was possible almost. At least for a while. So that just makes me really happy. I'd be like, we have a Discord, and that we would record a live Q&A session, and people would actually submit questions, and people actually kind of care about. To me, that just blows my mind. So I already got mushy gushy with my fan art submission, but I truly like. I'm just so grateful. It's been wonderful, honestly.
Yeah, I think it's been a lot of fun. Yeah, I think I'm with these guys. I'm not shocked about the reception. I'm shocked about the fact that it happened so quickly, and I don't know. I feel like because I relate everything with all of the other ones that I've seen. So all of the other podcasts took a while to grow, or I felt like they took longer. It might not have. It might have been the same amount of time to grow at the same level that they did. But I felt like all these guys have such huge communities, and us having our little bubble inside of this large place of the world and words and phrases that I can't say. I think just building that as quickly as I feel like we did is surprising to me. So yeah, I think not shocked but surprised, I think is the best way.
Yeah, like I checked the Anchor last night and it was like estimated audience size 47. I'm like, what? 47 people regularly listen to our content? No way. So
Yeah, I will throw this in now though, because like yes, I am kind of like it did kind of take me by surprise at first, but it's also just a testament to the work that Anirudh's put in with this, because like this is his baby, this is his brainchild. He's put in a lot of work to develop this thing, but also in terms of like what was it, like probably 6 months before we even first recorded the thing, he was reaching out to people and getting feedback and getting input, and like he laid the foundation for us to get off to the strong start that we did. So just testament to the work that he put in and continues to put in. Um, like the fact that like we got involved with the Pokemon Pokecasters network as quickly as we did is just a testament to the work and effort he's put in. Um, yeah, no, like again, like it was a surprise, but at the same time, like it's fully well deserved, like for the work that he's put in, 100%.
so wholesome. So wholesome.
So wholesome. We
That
do
being
have one
said,
more
I will
question.
whoop him in Madden any day.
Okay. We're actually getting extra questions right now, and so
Yay.
I will add them in. Fran, your final question will have to wait. So next question comes from Sven, who asks, "What moment in the podcast did you find amusing?"
Oh,
There's been a bunch. There's been a bunch.
how would you go?
I can't think of one. Yeah, you go ahead. You go ahead. Give me
Okay.
something to work off of here.
Probably the one that resulted in like the hardest laugh for me was when I was in Sir Kurt's office, and then he asked like, I don't remember what the conversation was exactly, but at some point I was like, yeah, remember like the train bombing? We did that. I mean, like,
Oh.
no, I didn't say that. I said that was us. that was the line. And I did not realize that it's like what it sounded like coming out of my mouth until after the fact. And so I took to backpedal. I was like, wait, no, I mean, we didn't do it.
That was a fantastic moment.
I remember listening to that episode like after it was produced, and I like just laughed my butt off, even after like I knew what was happening. Still really funny.
The thing I love is they're I mean, this is really just like Mansour's kind of penchant for comedy here, but man, he says some funny stuff. And like there are just some bits that like like, is Kyle tired of some things? Yes. Is that partially me kind of like projecting a bit because like grown humor? Yes. But at the same time, like the whole like bronze roses bit, like that's still just funny. That's just still funny.
And you,
Um,
it's definitely not gonna end with the Boulder Stars. I'll tell you that. We're part of the Boulder Stars. That's what's gonna happen for the
why did
next
I,
story.
here's the thing. If I had not said this just now, I'm sure you forgot about it. Like, I'm
Oh
sure
yeah, you're right.
you fully forgot about it. I just signed myself up for another arc of pain.
Yep.
Oh boy, here we go. Here we go.
Ooh, from Kane 796. For Mansour and Muhammad, what would your ideal movesets be for Ralph and Kyle?
Ooh boy. Um, hmm. uh, as they stand right now, um, and I might be throwing in some moves that Trico can't learn, but like Groban Septile can. Um, I would love if Kyle could just have like a more like well-rounded moveset. Um, Kyle definitely needs like a grass type physical attack. Something like a Leaf Blade would be fantastic. Um, if we could get that absorb up to like a Mega or a Giga Drain, that would also be fantastic. Um, I need Kyle to be able to dish out some hits. Um, what else would I throw in? I got two more spots. Um, I'd probably throw in something like a like a stun spore or something, some sort of not a status condition inducing move is the sequence of words I'm looking for. Something like that, just to kind of round things out nicely. You know, give him some versatility there. Um, and I'd probably also like to have something along the lines of like a quick attack or something like that, for those times where I don't roll well in the initiative because the way we've the way we've made quick attack work is you go top of the initiative order on the next sequence. So like something like that, especially if like like if there's a situation where like Kyle's at the bottom of the initiative order, hits a quick attack, and then gets to go first and hits like a leaf blade or something. Boom, boom. That would be fantastic. Something like that.
So my answer is a lot shorter. You're asking the wrong guy because I don't know anything. I do remember there is a point in one of the episodes where we were basically just going shopping, and I think this was the first time Ralph walked into like a TM store, and I was like, I really need a move that is effective against types that Ralph would be weak against. So I think the one I wanted was like electric punch. I think that was the move. I hope I got that right. But like, and then like Ralph was like, "How much is it?" And they were like, 10,000 poke or some absurd number. Ralph was like, "What? No, sorry." Um, but yeah, like my head is just like I always want moves that work well against like flying types and like bug types, or at least it's not like 0.5 multiplier. That's kind of all I have. I really don't know that much. I mean, I guess a status condition would be nice, although Leer is kind of like that because it lowers defense.
It's a stat changing move, not like a status condition.
That's true. That's true.
Like stat changing moves, I'm still not sure where I'm at on them. Because like on the one hand, like they are useful, and there are times like that one time like I used the stun steed and just spammed Leer, right? Like that was like that was a fun strategy. But at the same time, like I would definitely like enjoy having just ways to actually deal a significant amount of damage, um, because like at this point, like I'm gonna be pouring like every level up. I'm just gonna be pouring stuff into Kyle's defense and well as much as I can. Um, like his attack stats are fine. It's just he can't take a hit. Um,
Yeah, I also just want to move with the word punch in the name, just because all of my moves are like it's low kick, leer, and low sweep, which I'm gonna learn from the sock eventually. And like Ralph's whole personality is that he loves punching things, and all of his moves are kicks or like with his.
What if Ralph just had a punch moveset? Like, what if Ralph just knew like Mach Punch, Focus Punch, Thunder Punch? There's definitely a fourth punch that Ice Punch.
If I
So,
can get to a point like that would be cool. But that's about it.
like that, like I think that that's the ideal Ralph moveset right there. Oh, plus like you get like some status conditions there with like Thunder Punch and Ice Punch, and like Mark Punch gives you like a fun little like, because I'm sure Mark Punch will work something similar to like Quick Attack.
Isn't
Oh,
there also
that's
dynamic punch?
that's a
I don't-
solid move set. You're welcome for that.
Is it dynamic punch also a move?
Dynamic Punch is a move. It's basically just like a super powered punch. Um, I'd say maybe throw Dynamic Punch instead of Focus Punch.
There you
Maybe.
go. That's my ideal moveset. Thank you, Mohammed.
Yeah, no, that would be a really fun move set just because it's like, all right, just punches all the way through.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kane threw in the chat. By the way, I'm back. Hi.
Hi.
Kane threw in the chat. I think Ralph could benefit from his moveset being Thunder Punch, Drain Punch, Ice Punch, and another punch. I think he has Ice Punch twice, but that and like Mach Punch or something like that.
Drain Punch is Drain Punch would be solid. Although to be fair, the healing, at least so far, hasn't been as much as an issue for Ralph.
Yeah.
But
There's
Drain
not much Ralph
Punch-
can do once he gets like his health down. Like,
But
yeah,
also, we haven't been in that situation. We've been in that situation once.
yeah.
Arc Zero, episode like 3 or 4. That's the one time we've been in that situation. So
Yeah. Oh well, we'll find out as Ralph learns more moves.
Yeah.
that this is gonna circle back like way back to something that doesn't work well. But I mean, this is something that's like slightly irritating. I hate how slow we level up. Like
yes.
it is just frustrating. Like it makes sense, and like because the story is so slow paced, it works out fine anyways. But man, we have done so much, and Kyle is still level 8. Or I don't even, is Kyle even level 8 at this point? Kyle might still be level 7. Like
Yeah.
Kyle has like leveled up 2 or 3 times. So
Yeah.
I don't think. No, it's kind of a spoiler. I won't say. Never mind.
oh no, I have comments about Arc 2 related to this too, but I'm gonna keep those to myself.
Cool. So, I'm basically stalling, sort of, slightly, to wait for questions to come up in case anyone has some last-minute ones.
We have one last minute question.
Yes. Before that, I would like to get my input on the question that Sven asked earlier about what moment in the podcast did I find amusing. I don't know if you said this, but did you guys mention the bronze roses?
Yes.
Yes, we did mention the
That-
bronze roses, and now apparently the boulder stars is gonna be a thing
Oh
too.
gosh.
No,
So
you're saying wrong. It's not the Boulder Stars. It's the Boulder Stars. That's place.
So
okay,
I think
for
yeah,
Arc
good.
3, we are going to go to the most like hard to elongate guild name in the region, and
I don't know how that's gonna
that'll be
work
your
because I
first
feel like
one.
you
Just
could add
watch
a
me.
theme for anything. Yeah, Mansour would be the Triskaidekaphobia or something. But one thing I found amusing was, and this is more on the editing side of the baseball game, which in hindsight was a terrible thing. I think it did not turn out particularly well, but when recording, it sounded amazing. But I found that amusing just because baseball is a sport that I don't know much about, but to pretend like I did for a baseball game was it was amusing in
you had fun
how
with that.
I flew. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with that, and especially like the editing backwards and doing all like the commentary and stuff like that. That was definitely amusing to say the least. Ginny has a few more questions. Why the choice for XP rather than milestones? I felt like it fit in more with the Pokemon theme.
It's because you suck. I'm just kidding.
That too. That too. I'm a terrible individual. But when I was creating the system, the other systems out there that do Pokemon Mystery Dungeon make them more of a D&D-esque thing. So they have milestones or they have specific benchmarks that you have to reach. I wanted to make this the closest game representative as possible. So that's why there are so many different orbs, which I don't think other systems have. There's like specific descriptions for each item that even the dumb ones that are never going to be used, there's still descriptions for those. So to continue on that sort of thing, in the games they have experience points, so I kept that here with keeping experience points instead of milestones. As we have heard, the experience points level up system is very slow, probably because I don't throw you guys in nearly as many battles as you would normally see in other podcasts. That might be part of the reason why.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing. Like it's a combination of the fact that like you've scaled the experience to be very close to the game, and we also have not had many battle encounters. Um, so when we do end up in a battle, it's we're not getting too much XP out of it, and like we're not seeing a lot of those battles in the first place. So it's kind of a
Yeah.
combination.
Yep.
I think that's
That's your
just the thing.
prerogative whether you want to change that or not. It depends on what works well for the story for you.
I think the biggest thing is just either get more people involved in the battles, because the battles so far have been very much 2 against 1, which is why the experience you guys are getting are like pennies. But if I start having 2-on-2 battles, or bringing in an extra person to help you guys, and it becomes 3-on-3, that increases the experience points tremendously. Especially if because one factor in experience is how many people are on your team, and there's typically 2 people, so it splits it halfway. But if either in your solo episodes you go bouncing around with battling 100 different people, or if you two go up against a 4-member team or a 6-member team or something like that, the experience points you'll get from that will be truckloads. So
Okay,
Yeah,
but
we
also
had a
also the
couple
one time Kyle had a one-on-one, it did not end well. Like Kyle
Yeah,
could have
okay,
gotten
that-
mad experience points, but
Very true.
didn't happen.
Yeah, meanwhile, Ralph kicks a sock and bam, instant kill.
yeah.
Yeah, we need a couple episodes where we're just like farming, like we're just beating up like Bidoofs, and then that's the episode.
Yeah, Kira in the chat actually has a really... I might actually implement that if I can figure out a way of doing that immediately. That's a really good idea, of having experience for skill challenges. You say that use a combo of moves or ability checks to solve an issue. I could definitely see that being a different way of doing it. Yeah.
I was gonna suggest something similar when we wrapped up, because now like I'm also thinking through like how could we like accelerate the experience gaining. And I mean, slight spoiler, but from what we've recorded in Arc 2 so far, it hasn't come up yet, which means we could totally like just not retcon part of Arc 2, but integrate it into what we do like starting next week and things like
Did
that.
you mention that we haven't had a battle yet in Arc 2?
I did not say that. We may or may not have had a battle yet. We may or may not have lost that battle. This is all stuff that I could or could not be true.
Okay.
All I'm saying is we have not gained any experience so far in Arc 2.
Okay.
From what we've recorded of it. That could be 1 episode, that could be 10 episodes, who knows?
Okay.
Yeah, Loki, do you guys know how many episodes it is? Because I don't.
I have no clue. When I say everything is pure conjecture, I'm as confused as anyone.
Okay.
Cool. So, I'd like to keep Fran's question last because I think it's a really cool question, and it does sort of wrap everything up because we are reaching that point.
We've got
However,
more.
I am waiting. do Ginny have more? Did I not do all of them?
What do you like about doing a podcast, and what do you
Oh.
not like?
Well, here I am, big brain, not answering all the questions. What do I like about doing a podcast, and what do we not like? Have we touched on this before? We've sort of skimmed around this.
We
like, the
we
favorite
did
things
kind of
and-
touch on this a little bit. I will reiterate my answer, and this will probably get cut. Great thing, I get to have fun with these guys. Bad thing, I have to have fun with these guys.
I didn't answer the question. That's what they're saying.
Oh.
Yeah, no, you I think because that question might have been directed at us too. Either that or you just refused to answer.
What do I like about doing a podcast? That's a really good question. I think it's a cool way. I have a I don't know if it's a need or just a preference. I like to keep things recorded down, especially if I play through a game or something like that. Something that you can't necessarily get that same experience again. So if you play through a game that doesn't have a multiple ending or a different storyline each time you play or something like that, something that's concrete, I like to remember those times. So, for example, just like Pokemon Diamond, I remember my first playthrough of Pokemon Diamond vividly, and I really enjoy that sort of experience of like, I don't know what to see, I don't know what the world is like. Spinning that around to here, I really wanted to sort of document this story. It's a way of writing down improv, which is the complete opposite of what you're supposed to do. With improv, you're supposed to tell a story and then it's into the disappearance, the void, or whatever. This is a way of sort of writing that down and keeping those ideas and memories and the fun times and the bad times and the nutty times and all that sort of stuff kept in a place that I can always just go back and be like, hey, I remember when I did that. And so that's sort of the cool thing about a podcast, is that it's just available. All you have to do is go on the internet, on your phone, on your laptop, or whatever, wherever you listen to it, and just see that.
I can add a
I'm
little
gonna cut
bit.
in before you add the second part.
Okay.
Well, actually, the roots of improv was actually originally done to do idea generation for sketches. So the original point of improv was so that the funny stuff you came up with would be written down. Um, but yeah, no, like I just had to go and ruin your answer. Sorry
If
about
we
that.
were in person, I would throw a water bottle at you.
Yep, I'm aware.
I actually
Or an
will
umbrella.
we'll put in a little bit, yeah, because like I mentioned like having a hard time sometimes. It's like, oh, I don't have the energy to bring up Ralph, but like a unique challenge for me because I've never done any kind of podcast or like voice recording work before this podcast. Um, I think for me, my experience with performance is very much based on like the combination of all those things of like portraying a character through voice and like body language and physicality and like uh, being able to see like my facial expressions. Granted, when I do improv, half the time my face looks like I'm about to break, but regardless, like in a podcast, you only have access to one of those things. It is your voice, and that's it basically. And so there's like a unique challenge of like trying to portray this character using, and your voice is the only but also probably the most powerful tool that you have, um, like in a podcast setting, which I think is a really difficult thing that I'm still trying to figure out. So that's just like the biggest challenge for me, not necessarily a bad thing, just like something I could work on and continue to work on.
Cool. What do you not like? Uh, I guess editing. Although I'm starting to appreciate that more. I think initially I despised the editing because I was going through every segment of it, but now it's a lot easier to edit. What else? There are very few things I dislike about a podcast, just because I'm obsessed with them. Uh, Waiting for the next episode does that count as a thing? Um, I think yeah, usually it's a lot of like the minute details. Like I'm not. This just might be me because of the fact that this is very improv based. Uh, I don't like planning things, so that might be something I dislike if I have to plan something out, and because I have to know like the beginning of an arc or something like that. Like that I had to plan out because these guys were effectively on their own into the wide abyss. So uh, things like that kind of bother me because I like to see where they go. There are a bunch of things in this podcast that they never would have happened had a minor comment been said. So the entire Snow character would not have happened if Muhammad didn't say "oh," like something basically like that. Planning things out prevents those type of random situation from happening. I can think of a bunch more actually now that I think about it. Like Susie's not supposed to exist, but because Mansour went into a daycare, Susie eventually showed up. Like things like that, just weird things that happen just because of decisions made by these guys. Uh, it really helps to 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 generate ideas on the fly, which is much cooler than planning everything out. Um,
Before we hop into the next question, uh, something about the podcast format that I think works really well for Anirudh is he is tremendous with voices,
Oh
um,
yeah.
and
Oh yeah.
I got to see it like doing improv with him, but like just like I part of it like is the fact that like as DM he gets to do all these different characters and he gets to flex it, but also like again a podcast the only thing you're doing is listening, and he is fantastic with voices, fantastic with accents. Uh, and it's a chance for him to get to flex it, which he didn't get to do a lot in improv workshops, um, at least not to the extent that he has now. So that's also really cool.
yeah. Also, I get to do the little kid voice, Muhammad, that they always tell me not to do.
We, dude, so me and Anaru, we try like we our goal in improv workshops was to one get to do a scene together, and then one A was all right. We want to do a scene together where we're both playing little kid voices because we love doing annoying little kid voices, and we've managed to make that a reality, and it's great.
Yeah. To answer Jenny's question, um, it's not like they're like, oh, the kid voice sucks. Like they're fine. Um, the reason why they tell people that, and also my first bit of feedback when I first started doing improv was like, basically diversify your characters. Um, and so like if a lot of times like if people in the improv world see you like doing the same character over and over, they're like, oh, well, try something new. Try a character who like, you know, isn't the three characters that you always fall back on.
Yeah. That
Also,
was a big thing when I was.
the deeper level to that feedback is, in addition to diversifying your characters, um, it's when your character is a child, it is very hard to add depth, which in the scope of like improv, both like in single scene and like long form stuff, it become if your character doesn't have depth, it really limits what you can do and the possibilities you can explore. Now, I think we kind of avoid this here because one, we kind of gave these characters a bit more depth and had more time to think through, but also just like the fact that there's a bigger storyline kind of helps add like intrigue to the story that there definitely wouldn't be if it was just Ralph and Kyle at school, because kids are just like relatively one dimensional as characters.
Yeah, if this entire story was Ralph and Kyle at school, it would be much more tame compared to your anime story of child goes on world adventure type thing. Uh, yeah, I think it's just the. I think when I was initially starting out with improv, I would go on the default option of old man, myself, kid, and those were like the three characters that I pinned on a lot. And then as time went on, I started to diversify into okay, well, I don't have to be old man. I can be old man doing this, or I don't have to be kid. I can be teenager doing that, and like building branches off of those and using those as characters definitely helps. Um, to talk about depth, though, there was that one time that I played God.
I remember that. That was amazing. Oh, that Spoon River was fantastic.
Uh,
I think this was before my time. But,
that was before, yeah.
This was before your time. Oh man, that was a scene.
That. I think that might have been one of the highlights of my improv career. Is I got to play God in a
That was,
scene, like the literal God.
and the thing is, that was one of my favorite Spoon Rivers too, because like looking back, it was like just like the OG improv squad was doing it. Like I think me and you were in that. Deb was in that. Maddie was in that. Like they were. Oh man, that was a
Way
banging Spoon River.
that was a good time in freshman year. Of course, we got great talent like Mansour coming in afterwards, but it was,
oh,
Yeah, these talented kids came in and ruined everything that I used to be.
yeah, I
Workshop
remember
was
they
never
did.
the same.
You remember when they used to be on other days?
Dude, rest in peace, Thursday Shop. Thursday Shop was amazing. The switch to
Um,
Wednesday Shop, like completely, like
threw things for a
it's
loop.
more coincidence than like correlation. It's more correlation than causation. But I will attribute a little bit of my lack of involvement last year to the switch from Thursday to Wednesday.
that's
Yeah,
fair.
just because of the busyness and like change of schedule. Also, I just realized this has absolutely nothing to do with Not a Scratch, but
No, y'all are just getting a little peek into our lives.
yeah. So as of right now, there are no more questions. So, with that, we can go into the final question that I've been saving because it's the perfect way to end it off. Fran asks this question all the time, and we'll ask it again. What is a question you are shocked that nobody has asked you yet
About the podcast or like in life?
about in this Q&A?
Uh,
Well, I guess in life, but the question is generally designed for the Q&A. So, what is a question you're surprised nobody asked, and then answer it.
I
That
think
is
about
a fantastic question.
Fran asks this question in every Q&A, and it's always good. And now it has been used on me, and I feel content with life.
That is an amazing question.
Yeah,
Hats off to you. That is a phenomenal question.
very good one.
Shout out, Fran.
I gotta actually think about this for a second because I don't know right away.
I mean, people asked about the origins of our characters. I'm trying to think of like I'm trying to think more not in terms of like not a scratch in general, but in terms of like a question that would be direct, like that I would expect to have been asked now.
I know a question. I have technically told specific people the answer, but I was expecting a lot more questions about like what's your favorite Pokemon, which I have shared a lot, so that doesn't really quite apply for me, but it could apply for you too.
No, yeah, like stuff like that for sure.
Oh yeah, for people
I
listening,
mean,
at
I
home, it's
guess yeah, we
Wigglytuff.
haven't we haven't been asked like the standard like icebreaker questions of like, you know, how old are you guys, like that sort of thing.
Yeah.
That's not really
That
where
doesn't surprise
my
me
head
as
is
much.
at right now.
I think I'm a little surprised because especially this was a thing, especially in Arc One. Um, I'm surprised y'all aren't more curious about why Kyle is so like apathetic to like almost everything. Um, I'm surprised that didn't come up. I'm surprised that that wasn't a question because I feel like as the arc's gone on, I've seen a lot of y'all be like, "Yo, why is Kyle just so mad all the time?" But you guys just accept it, and it's great.
I'm still thinking. I think the first thing that pops into my head, and this is like, so not like the icebreaker questions of like, how old are you guys, but just sort of like more general questions about like me, Muhammad, and Anirudh, like as people. I
They're
mean,
not here for us; they're here for the characters.
I know, but still, um, that's kind of like the only thing that I can really think of that hasn't been too much of. I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing. I mean, privacy's nice, um, but yeah, it just hasn't been too much about like us in life. That's kind of all I can really think of. You guys have asked a lot of questions that I honestly was like, whoa, I don't know if anyone would ask that, but yeah.
Yeah. Also, I realized I completely skipped the second half of it. Why, like, to answer the question of why is Kyle like so apathetic and almost like mad a bunch of the time and annoyed? Uh, Kyle is very out of his element, and Kyle is very much just in this in the mindset of, oh boy, we need to get this done, and like we can't do like anything else. Like Kyle is still like very new to everything and is, I guess, in a way, a bit overwhelmed. Um, I think something we'll see. We're starting to see it a little bit in Arc 2, and I'm sure it's something we'll see as we go forward. As Kyle gets more into his element, um, he'll open up a bit and be less of like that one track, single dimensional kind of character.
Yeah, I definitely feel like, at least especially in the beginning of Arc Zero and Arc One, like Ralph has been very much waiting for this kind of adventure his whole life. Ralph has very much been like, I cannot wait until I get the mysterious paper that takes me on this wild adventure to save the world. Right? I think he's been like aching for this, and now it's happening. So he's just excited to like have fun and do all the cool, crazy things. Whereas Kyle, I feel like it just sort of happened to him. Like he wasn't expecting it. Heck, he didn't even want to go to guild tryouts in Arc Zero.
No, yeah, like Kyle was not at all prepared. Kyle was like, this goes against like Kyle's life literally changed overnight,
Yeah.
literally.
Yeah.
So,
and then like all of a sudden, he's tasked with like, now you have to save the world. So I think Kyle's very much like, okay, this is the one thing that matters right now. It's not about the adventure. It's not about the fun. It's not about all the cool, quirky characters we meet along the way. It's not about like any potential love interests. It is about saving the universe, because I didn't ask for this. Like that's very much like I think what Kyle's headspace is like. Whereas Ralph is just like, I cannot wait to go on my own little anime miniseries.
also
So-
another part of it for Kyle is like, here's this kid that like you've never talked to and has never like never talked to you at all. And, like you don't talk to anyone at school, right? Like because you're just like you're doing your own thing and you're happy with that. And now all of a sudden you and this kid are like traveling together because world saving. It's like what? Huh? Huh?
Yeah. Honestly, there are a lot of points in the podcast where I feel like, like in a video game when you're playing like the escort quest, like there's like the kid that's always like running off into trouble and you have to like protect them, and it's always like a big pain in the butt. I genuinely feel like a lot of points in the story, like Ralph is very much the kid who like is constantly getting themselves like into trouble and getting hurt and saying the wrong thing, and Kyle's just like, oh my god, can you stay out of this for like 1 second? Can we focus on the main quest line for like a second? Which I love that about their dynamic, at least for now. But
Yeah, that's another thing. Like, I think I don't know if this is quite what I envisioned like, exactly, but it definitely kind of lines up with. I definitely wanted there to be an interesting character dynamic, and oh boy, there is.
Cool. I do know one question that I'm surprised nobody has asked, like player characters and y'all people in chat and listening. Uh, what? Who sent the letter for the train bombing?
Oh, I don't know. I still don't know what the happened with the train bombing. Like, oh, sorry, I cursed. I don't know what happened. Like, I legitimately have no idea. I just kind of like was like, oh, that's really concerning. I don't know where we can get an answer for that, so I just kind of let it slide.
Yeah, that sounds like that's a plot thread that's sitting out there and just
Now-
kind of like sitting.
Now I will say that the pretense on which like under which you brought this up is what's a question that people haven't you're surprised people haven't asked, and answer it.
Oh,
Yeah. Insert redacted sign here.
Also, a quick answer to that question: do you guys record with cameras on? No. We know what we look like, so we don't need cameras.
They don't need to see my face. My face is not something you want to see.
There have been a
Um,
couple times before recording session stuff where we'd be in a Discord call, and I've seen what Anirudh's setup is
Oh,
like. And
one
my
thing
lord, is it
it's just hit me now. One question that I'm really surprised no one has asked is like, do you guys planning on having like guests or like guest stars or like having a character be voiced by someone else?
yeah, that's actually a good
I'm
question.
surprised no one's asked that, and I actually kind of want to ask that question myself because like
hadn't.
I kind of like the idea of having like a guest or a guest star, either someone that we know in real life or someone from like the Pokecasters network, um, or like having someone voice a character or something. Like,
I will say before Honor you give the actual answer to this question. I know this is something that I don't know if all three of us talked about it, but I know me and you definitely talked about it once or twice. And like we were brainstorming like people that might potentially like people we know that might want to come on for an episode or two. Don't know if that at all relates to the official answer here.
So you guys are gonna get to hear this if you're listening to the this question and answer segment. So if you're listening to this right now, uh, via live chat, if you're listening to the episode and it's before Halloween, then I'm interested in doing a special episode without these two guys that will be released after Halloween, and it would be with the system. And I know exactly what storyline it's going to be. I just have to work out like the specific kinks. But I am interested in doing that, and I need 4 people for that.
a
Don't sign up
side
now.
story?
There is a side story in place, technically.
I love this idea. Oh my god!
Something
Dude,
tells me this has something to do with the evil guys.
I
That's
can
my
neither
gut
confirm
feeling
nor
right now.
deny anything.
that is so good.
How the only rules are you have to know what's going on. That's effectively it. So, um, more details will probably come out later this month. Yeah. So I gotta work out like long-term story kinks, but that's a thing. So there'll be like 1 week in October where there'll just be a random episode that has nothing to do with these guys. Yeah, and also you two are not allowed to like know anything about it. So
I assume we'll know
Well,
about it when the episode's released, but
Yeah, no, like here's the thing, Mansour, you listen to the podcast, like you're gonna know, but I'm just gonna be in the dark.
oh, I'm gonna make a confession. I was keeping up with the podcast very well up until like arc 1, episode like 7 or 8. Um, After that, like life got really busy, and I listened to the finale last night, like to refresh on like what happened. And then like all the episodes like in between like episode like 8 and like 12, like I have not listened to. I don't think.
there you go. So they don't even know what's going on anyway.
We're
So,
fake fans.
Yeah, I will say this. Like actually, I can tell you right now which ones I have not listened to because fun fact: when we first started this series, like I used to be the one that named all the episodes. So arc 0, episode 0, all the way up until till episode I think arc 1, episode 5, I named them. 6 and 7, I did not name them. 8 8R I did. And that's it. I haven't named an episode since. So those are the ones I did not listen to like as they were being produced or right before they came out. So and those ones Anirudh has named. So
yeah,
there you go.
at some point, I think one of the episodes, whichever one was the first one that Mansour didn't name, was one of the one. I think the first time that I was like pushed to the limit, so I just named it myself. Because normally I send this to these guys and they kind of skim through it and then name. Typically Mansour is the one that names it. I think that day I was just like very late with it, and I'm like, all right, I'll just name it myself. And at this point, naming is such a small thing that I usually end up thinking of a name while I'm editing, so I just toss it in there. And then if the name is terrible, they'll probably tell me. Apparently, none have been terrible yet. So
Yeah, you've done a great job of like coming into your own because at the beginning you definitely were like checking in with us a lot more.
yeah,
But
now
you're building that confidence now. Like you
man,
got it. You're in
I don't
stride.
need y'all. I
Yeah,
can do this thing
I just want
myself.
to say the word finale, terrible name. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, it's an awful name. Why would you need the last episode finale?
Yeah,
God.
it's
Also, the
disgusting.
word finale is dumb. It should clearly be pronounced finale because English has weird rules and it could totally be pronounced that way.
I think this relates back to the very first topic we were talking about 2.5 hours ago, because I think there was a comment about English being dumb then, and
That's
we are,
called a
English being-
callback, baby.
special episode when
Oh,
where Andrew plays in Mansour.
ITM? You don't want that. You really don't want that. Because like if I were DMing, I would just take the story in a crazy place. Like you don't want that at all. I have DM things before, so like if hypothetically, if we were to do like a spin-off series or something, and I were the one DMing that, sure, why not? But not. You really don't want to see that for this story.
I think by the time like the main story of this thing is done, we'll have set up so many interesting like places and plot points that you could definitely DM a spin-off series if you wanted to.
Yeah, or like a
And it
Oh,
would
yeah.
one-shot.
absolutely slap.
I do have to say, there is, and this is just to keep you guys in suspense and kind of building off some of the comments that have been mentioning in the chat, there is an underlying reason why a lot of plot points that are seemingly left off are not left off. Like,
Oh, boy.
there's a reason, for example, there is a reason why Susie gets all these items. There is a reason
What,
why the
there
train
is?
bombing letter is. There is.
Oh no!
There is a reason why Susie is doing Susie things. There is a reason why the train bombing letter came and it happened on that day. There are most of the plot holes that are open are able to fit into the reasoning that I have in the background. So there's an underlying thing going on.
I am so hyped
Also,
for
can
part
I-
2. I am so scared. What?
Can I just build on this real quick? And
Sure.
this kind of ties into the fact that I don't listen at all and I have no idea what's going on. Egg?
Oh yeah, these guys have no idea about the egg, and we haven't reached that point yet.
Like, I'm so confused. Like I feel like Kyle's like mostly forgotten about it at this point, but like, huh?
Yeah, the egg thing has not appeared yet. I know exactly what's happening with that. Oh boy, y'all gonna be tripping.
Surprise, Kyle, you're a dad.
Wild.
Is this Q&A fun for us? For me, yeah. I love answering. I wish I could go for longer. I wish like everyone was just bursting with questions because I love answering them. That's just me.
This is why we need more people to join the Discord. So bring them in, drag them in here, send Discord links, spam them. Don't actually spam them, but like comment once a month about us if you
Bring your
wanna.
friends into this if you think they'd like it or whatever.
Waves shyly.
Also, like this Q&A and just recording episodes in general, like this is definitely like part like this definitely stems from the fact that Anirudh does all the Anirudh does all the heavy lifting here. But for me, it's literally just me hopping on a call with a couple of my buddies and just goofing around. Like this is just fun. It's a nice little break from sitting around in my room doing nothing.
Okay, I think that wraps up all the questions that we have here. If your question was not answered, and it's because you sent it before 4 o'clock EDT at September 12th or whatever.
EDT, let's go! Daylight savings
Yeah,
time.
I remembered, Ryan. I remembered in time. Whatever, you get the gist. If you sent a question before then and just send me a text or something, your question will still count for the entry for the giveaway that's going on. If you have a question after the fact and just want to send it to me, you can. It's cool. If it's a really good question about the arc, which will start back up, not this coming Tuesday, but the Tuesday afterwards. Unless, of course, we split this into 2 episodes. I don't know if we're doing that, but
If we split it in 2, we should still drop them at the same time, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
yeah, probably.
But
could do something.
also, a backlog of episodes will be great to have in about a couple weeks.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so if you've asked a question beforehand, it counts towards it. If you ask it afterwards, it's still fine. We'll still answer it. It's not like we're rejecting you or anything like that. But I think with that being said, I think that wraps everything up. I have been your DM, your PM, your GM, Anirudh himself.
And I've been Mansour, just being me. I'm not playing anyone.
And I've been Mohammed. I usually play Kyle. Not this time.
And until next time, take care.